Oh, man.
Yeah. Put my shit back on this fucking porch. Yeah. Yeah. I saw you when you got out the motherfucking car. You tried it. Put my shit back on this motherfucking porch.
Sure.
You done lost your motherfucking mind. You don't come up on my shit and take my shit.
You got it.
You lucky.
You got it.
You lucky.
You got it.
Motherfucker. You see this motherfucker just tried to take the car?
I hate when guys text you, did you take the plan B? No. I forgot.
All right. Yes. Let me stretch. Welcome again to another stream, podcast, live stream, whatever you want to call it, here on the Chaos Rain channel. As you know, I go by Chaos Rain here. And I'm looking at this now. Some disturbing. I don't know why I got that notification. That's relevant, but who knows? Welcome to all that has subscribed to the Chaos Rain channel and those that will subscribe in the near future. As you know, I go by the name Chaos Rain here, the one and only. And for those that willing to want to subscribe, you know the drill. You hit the red button and you hit the top notification bell for uploads and live streams here on the Chaos Rain channel. Also, you can now follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7 and add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. Hold on. Let me make sure I got pretty much everything. And one more thing. I forgot. Oh, yes. And let me shut down this because this is going to be distracting, you know. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I also got a Discord. For those that's not familiar, you could also follow me on Discord as well. What's good, Little Rock? I'll put the link shortly for those that's interested in Discord. As you know, Discord is like another private server. We can interact, communicate, and like always, I'm trying to grow Discord. I'm not on there often, but I will make the conscious effort because I am watching my Discord, let y'all know. So don't think that I'm not active there. And hell, we could probably have conversations, ideals on topics, or anything that you feel that comes to mind that you want to communicate with me, especially. I'm on Discord as well. So shortly, I will give you the link to Discord in a second. I'll put in the chat room. Because there's two ways you can go find it, in the about section or the chat room. So I will put that shortly. If y'all caught last live stream that I done, if I can remember what it was again, that was Jump into Spring. I advise everybody to go back and listen to that. There was some people that came up and we had a conversation on it, on current events and what's on people's mind. So, you know, check it out for yourself. And let me see who else I'm missing here. Let me send out one last links. Hold on. Who's else here? I don't want to miss anybody on here. All right. Put this here. And that looked like that's it. Okay. I guess we can now begin. So, what is the subject for today's stream? I'm glad y'all guys asked. Today's stream will be, and surely, and hold on, let me look in the chat room, make sure there's no bots. HPC. Okay, we don't got bots. All right. And I'll probably put a poll as I'm going through this. The title, can biracials separate from blacks? Now, when I mean by blacks, I mean in general, man and woman, black people that come from two actual black parents, some that are either melanin rich or a little brownish, that type of blacks. And to be honest with y'all, colorism has always been the discussion amongst black people for some time now. And I think this is an ongoing discussion now for the last 20th century, to be honest. And it's still going to push forward in the 21st century. Oh, I see somebody wrote a comment. Oh, interesting. Let's look. African Americans are already admixing biracial, triracial, just like many other DOS in America. So the notion of separating based on blackness is a false start. And we will go into that. As you know, what I'm going to run is this conversation from you see from the thumbnail of this. You know me, guys. This thing about separation, I don't know if it's possible for black people that come to black parents to separate from biracials in America, especially. I've been hearing the notion that these biracials have their own category and they should be separate from blacks and possibly maybe whites. I don't know. But my thing is this, that in America, they don't give an actual definition where they say you are separate from black and white. There's only two. There is no gray. If y'all want to believe that or not, there was, never will, and there will be no gray in America. Now, outside of America, from England, some parts of Eastern Europe, or even possibly Russia, maybe they might have a category where they say you are biracial. You have your own category, and you have your own tribe. Where you over here, you blackies, you over here, you stay over there, and you whites, you over here, you stay over here. No, only in America we have this phenomenon, unfortunately. And to be honest with you, this is not mostly a focus on the male side of things. This, I'm hearing this conversation mostly is by this fucking female about the colorism. Light skin, dark skin. I can't get this make become too jet black. I can't get accepted because I'm not black enough. All this crap. You only hear this from the female side of things. Ain't that ironic? I don't hear most black men, either jet black or light black, have these separations. Only time when you really focus on it is when you see that the men are already divided already, where they have a certain issue amongst each other. And usually it goes by ranking and dissing each other in regards to skin tone. So much to you black ass bastard, or you red, all these little terminologies that we go by as men will probably rank. But in regards to real separation, I don't really see it. Even in the institution of Hollywood, where black men are very much heavily rich, black, darker on the average, I'm not sure if they really separate themselves from the lighter brothers overall. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. So, you know, enough of me. I'll probably do this my own exception as my own dictate what do you call it? My own dissertation of this recording. So let me pull it up. And you know, as you know, leave your commentaries if you have questions. I'll be reading the chat room, like always. And let's be honest, I forgot to put the Discord, so let me find my Discord now, because I do want those that want to join the Discord is their option. So as I'm running, wait, actually, before I do that, let me do this. Let me pull up my Discord, and then we're gonna get this started. Okay, so matter of fact, let me do this before I start this. 1 second, guys. Okay, we can now begin. So let's listen in, and you know, we'll give some conversation. And for those that want to join this conversation, please say yes. I'll drop the StreamYard link for y'all to come up and y'all give your own take on this. I don't want to be alone talking about this, but I will if it needs to. Let us begin.
Welcome to Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I'm Tammy Mack. So the one drop rule says if you have even one ancestor who is black, you are black. But why doesn't that principle play to any other ethnicity? Some people are saying now that the opposite should happen. That if you're not 100% black, you are not black. Ouch. I myself think we should all be able to identify as whatever the hell we want. However, you can clearly define someone's ethnicity by the color of their skin, or can you? Let's get down to business. The business of being black today is defining the ethnicity of biracial people. Please welcome content creator Tony Brien. Hi, Tony.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Criminal justice activist Mona Lisa Johnson is with us again. Hi, Mona Lisa.
Hello, Tammy. Thanks for having me again.
NAACP Image Award nominated actress Crystal Jasmine on deck. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Tammy.
Now, mind you, as she's reading down the list of people, majority of the ladies that's on this panel, only one woman looks like she came from two black parents. Everybody else look like, besides Miss G, that's also part of this panel, did not come from two black parents. 1 second. All right, guys. So these are the people. So I'm probably going to let this rip. As I step away, I'll come back.
Hey, how are you today?
Wonderful. An influencer and YouTuber, Cynthia G, is down. Hey, Cynthia.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Well, good. Let's make this happen. So my first question every show is, why should black people care? Why should black people care what biracial people are identified as? Cynthia, kick us off.
Well, Black people should absolutely care, particularly Black women, because what we're seeing is the biracial identity being Black, it affects Black women primarily. It does not really affect Black men. You don't have white women or Asian women or Hispanic women having to complain about people taking their identity. So this mostly affects Black women. And we should care because of our experiences. There's a certain experience that comes with being Black. And when you have biracial people identifying as Black, it creates a caste system within the Black community. We have an issue with colorism. So essentially the biracial people tend to present as the better version of a Black person, specifically a Black woman. And this affects whether we're getting jobs, whether we get acting, who representing identity, whether certain skin tones are being left out. So we should definitely care. This has a lot to do with not just our identity, but our experience in society. The reality is biracial is not Black, it's biracial. And I don't understand why there's such an issue with biracial people identifying as biracial. I think when we get into this discussion, to get to the core of it, we should also be asking, why aren't biracial people identifying as white when they have a white parent?
Why should Black people care, Crystal?
Honestly, you know, Cynthia, I'm not gonna lie, a couple things you just said kind of strung a chord for me because, you know, although my mother is a fair-skinned woman, she is not just white. You know, she looks white, but she's very curvaceous, and you can tell that she's mixed. My mother is European, and she's also Bayesian, so she technically is a biracial woman herself.
What's good, Art? New style. What's good? I seen the building. I gotta pause for a second. Make sure you guys hit the like button. You can share this if you choose to. I didn't put my donation tab yet. I'll find it and post it in a second. But you know, to give legits of things, I'm gonna have to probably look at some of the video. I'm simulcasting, so I'm trying to look at this video portion, see who's talking. Which, if y'all not familiar, like I said, only two Black women that came with two Black parents, as you could tell, are the ones that has some skin in the game. Talking about, you know, they're fully Black while other women are mixed. But let's keep playing.
It makes it very tricky as far as identifying, you know, with which culture, because I feel like we should be allowed to identify as all of it. We should be allowed to identify as Black as if we want. You know, my father's Nigerian. I have 8 siblings. I am literally the only one that is this fair complected, and it wasn't by choice. So it gets really tough, you know, because it's like sometimes you want to be able to identify with either side. I mean, technically, if you want to bring it down to a percentage, I am more Black than white, but my complexion doesn't show that.
So why should Black people care, Mona Lisa? Why should Black people care what biracial people identify as?
I think Black people should care about what multicultural and biracial people identify as, because we're human too. You know, we want to take a place in this life as well, and we want to identify as being something just like everyone else wants to identify, but we don't want to be pigeonholed into making a choice.
Oh no, you must be pigeonholed to make a choice, because as long as you live here in the United States of America, we do not operate, and I mean loosely, we do not operate through the mix. Now, in the paper, if you sign and put .9, either you're white, Black, other, Pacific Islander, I think they have Latino, all these unique categories. At the end of the day, they go by what you look like from head to toe, and eventually they will make a decision besides what you put on that box. Now, if you're racially ambiguous, which some of these ladies are, and if I could really show, let me see if I can find images. I'm looking now. I'm looking at this now. And really, truly, I should have snippet some of this, because now it's hard to get a real clear picture of this. Let me keep going as I'm trying to find the 2 ladies so you can see which one is which. So let's keep playing.
Like, my father is African American and my mother is Italian, and from the, you know, I'm from the 60s, born in the 60s, shall I say, and from that very moment, especially in the 80s and in the South, I had to make a choice. I had to make a choice when I went to the driver's license bureau on whether or not I was a white woman or a Black woman. And when I spoke to the woman at the counter, I said, "Hey, I'm mixed. You know, I'm biracial." And in those days, we called ourselves half-breeds. And I don't want to make a choice as to whether or not I'm Black or white. I want to choose both. And she says, "Honey, if you got 1 ounce of Black in you, baby, you just got to put Black. So mark it." And then she said, "Next." That's why
she sound like she was a Black woman.
She was a Black woman, and I was like, "How you know it?" Okay.
Okay, she clearly didn't want you on her side of the fence, that's for sure. Tony, why should Black people care about how biracial people are identified?
Yeah, so I totally agree with a lot with what Cynthia was saying. I feel as if it gets problematic, especially for people who are fully Black, not be able to get a seat at the table, I should say. A lot of opportunities are taken away from fully Black women, primarily because they, especially when it comes to media, someone that is half Black will get like more of an opportunity than a fully Black person, because they are deemed as someone that is considered more attractive, or, you know, because they have more European features, or whatever non-Black features that they have is considered better. So though I do feel as if mixed people should be represented, I do feel that it does take away from Black women when they are considered just fully Black, or just a Black person in general.
There's a lot to unpack here with what everyone has said. So I want to start with what Crystal said. Crystal said, listen, I have siblings who are much darker than me, and I'm the only one that's this fair skin, and I didn't choose to be this color. I didn't choose to come out this way. But when you talk about it, Tony, you say that her being a light-skinned Black girl, takes away opportunity from those who are 100% Black in tone, I should say, who are not biracial, I want to say. But how is that Crystal's fault? It seems like you might be suggesting that it's America's fault, because if they give her an opportunity because she's prettier by by what the system says is prettier. She has access to more jobs, and so she should identify as white so that she can't be a minority, and minorities are still allowed to have those jobs. Those spaces are still open. Is that kind of what you're suggesting, Tony, or am I way off base?
No, I'm more so suggesting that I feel that biracial people should be able to identify as biracial versus them just having the label as I am a Black person, because sometimes they are forced to select that. I honestly feel that people should identify with what they most closely identify with, and same with Crystal saying that she has other siblings that are darker, and they may just want to say, hey, I'm a Black person. I feel like you should identify with whichever component you feel that you closely feel connected to. But in a lot of references in media, and it's not any biracial person's fault and it's not a Black person's fault, but in media and what is displayed on, whether that's movies, television shows, social media, all of that, the person that's mostly shown are people that are mixed, and they are labeled as Black people, and they're like, hey, well, we gave Black people a role, but it's like, no, that's not a fully Black person. And that's more so goes into colorism, I feel, more so than someone being biracial or someone being a Black person.
Now, because I'm trying to find the actual video of this, because, you know, doing this breakdown, I gotta look who's talking. But I will say this. I'll say this. The reason why Hollywood will pick lighter hue women than darker skin hue women is because more, in my opinion, divide. Because let's be honest, Hollywood, just like any other institution, depending who controls it, is one that will portray which one they deem worthy is who's who. And majority of Black people chuck it in the chin and accept it cold-heartedly. And this goes in all forms of media. So if you, as a mainly rich woman that come from two Black parents that don't look like they're two mix up, but they're like brownish to dark skin hue, then obviously you might have a hard time functioning in certain institutions, especially if you're a big woman. It's even worse. Now, if you're a cute, nice complexion woman, darker hue, I mean, you will get somewhere, but depending on the institution you're trying to look for employment, the ceiling can be limited. I mean, limited loosely. Because like anything, everything is a competition, ladies. Even the women that you are working next to, whether they're Black or non-Black, are in competition with you because they always want to be that head honcho female, that bad ass chick, for lack of better words. So, you know, and here's the funny thing about this, that people did not know about this. Have y'all been noticing that most people that's in Hollywood right now are not ADOS descent that work and are acting as roles as Black people in America? Have y'all noticed that? And the reason why I say if y'all did not notice that is because, let's be honest, they're not even hiring black people. That's been in America for centuries. So there's many ways they'll play this. Whether you are a person that's descendant of slaves here in America, or you're someone that's mixed. One way or the other, they like to show the representation of what Black is. And I think we as people, we accept it cold-heartedly, and we don't make the conscious effort to sit there, not only voice our opinion, but not support these so-called institutions that portray Black people in a sort of either positive or mostly a negative fashion. Now I'm trying to find the video because I want to. Oh damn! I think this is not going to work. Now my search tree is not working well for some reason, guys. I'm trying to find it, guys. For some reason, it's doing something here. I'm trying to find the Okay, now it's working. All right, so let me see if I can find it. I think I almost found it, guys. I like to watch who's talking so that way y'all know who y'all listening to. All right. No, that's the breakdown from them. I don't want to see that. That crap. Is this the one? Nope. Let me erase this. Yeah, some of my history's got to be cleared up because sometimes you lose all the information in the shuffle of things. All right. And then once I find it, I got to fast forward to where I'm watching now. And it looks like for some reason I can't find the actual video of this. Interesting. And now I'm trying to find it here. Don't mind me, guys. If I continue to talk, I got to find it. All right. As I'm running this, if I find it, I will give you more scoops up. Let's continue.
Cynthia, you said Black people have an experience of their own. It's a culture for the most part. And I've talked about this on my show before. And some people are saying, especially in today's world, there are Black people who don't have the same experience, who aren't bound by the same cultural experiences. And so how do you address that?
Well, here's the thing. Cultural experiences are important, but your actual racial makeup is important as well. And so myself, for example, I am a Black woman, but I grew up in a white suburb. So, I mean, technically I can say I didn't experience for a lot of my life, I didn't experience what other Black people who grew up in different areas may have experienced, but I'm still a Black woman. I'm still going to own my identity. I'm just not sure why it's an issue for biracial people to identify as biracial. That's what I'm having the confusion with, because, you know, and it's what Tony said, where they're getting certain privileges based on their proximity to whiteness, but their identity is Black. And we already know how much Black women have had to struggle in this country for accomplishments, for recognition, for praise that we still don't get. So to have non-Black people move into that space, because there are no parameters on it. You have Rachel Dolezal saying that she's Black. You'll have full-on white people saying that they're Black for the purposes of getting benefits that may come with it, but they have no connection to it. And we have to think about the parents of the biracial person. Most biracial people have a white mother and a Black father. They have a high rate of single mothers. So you have essentially Black women having their minds molded by white women. And a white woman isn't going to give a Black identity. So most of the time, like, they don't relate to Black women. They're lumped in the category of Blackness, but they understand it's their proximity to whiteness that they can actually essentially weaponize against actual Black people.
How can you say that, Cynthia, when your proximity to whiteness is more than the average Black woman as well?
Before the lady answers that, to be honest, at times that I was thinking really that now most of the biracials come from a Black man and a non-Black woman. But as y'all know, I found some interesting data and information for the last couple of years of the amount of children other men have to racial women. And it astounds me that when it talks about Black people in America, let's say this. From the data, overall, there were still more men of other groups of men, meaning Latinos, Arabs, Asian men, have more children than their female counterparts. But when we come across data from the Black men and Black women, it is very ironic that there's an extra 1.2 million more children from women than the men. But for all the data, it's shown that most men have more children than the ladies. So why is it that when they looked at the data towards Black people, men and women, that the men don't got the same amount of more children than the women? So it seemed to me that if these brothers are really swirling up, there should be more men across the board, including Black men, have more children than the ladies. But when it comes to us as black people, it's totally the opposite. And this has been going on for a couple of years now. And I'm hoping when they update it, that I do may a fall through that has his numbers stable. And to be honest with you, if it's been off skew for the last 4 to 5 years, it always by default, our women are having more children than us, and they're having it either by the small pool of men that these dudes keep rambling about, or they're going out the community and having children with non-black men. Which, to be honest with you, I would say it's both. And I would say they're probably not having children with non-black men too. Because remember, most dudes today, gentlemen, we don't really ask for DNA tests for most of the women that we are copulating with our women. We don't waste time asking that. Sometimes we're afraid to ask it, like TLA said, because you as a man, you're not going to be bold and look your future baby mama or wife, whatever, on her face and say, "Is that my baby? I want a DNA test." No man is going to be bold enough to say or ask that question. And a lot of dudes today are afraid of the women. Black men especially, they're afraid of the women. Black women especially. It sucks, but it's the real truth. So knowing that, obviously, you're not going to really know if now, because we have DNA testing now, that is this really your baby? And I think now that's slowly changing now, in my opinion, because a lot of young men that's going to be fathers in the future, they want to know now. They're not going to sit there, waste time and energy, invest in a child that potentially might not be theirs. And I would like to give a shout out. I'm not a shout out, but to say that it's sad to know that Maury is no longer be on the air now. And Maury was one of the few shows that's been dedicating through DNA testing for the last almost 30 years at best. And now that show is no longer going to be on TV or, on other media outlets, it's actually a big blow, in my opinion. Very much a big blow. We're not sure what's going to happen. Let me turn this on. So me saying this is that what now to a lot of men that's not going to be privy to Maury or ever watched Maury or knew about what he's been doing for the last couple of decades. To know saying a lot of these DNA tests that's been going on when he's been testing a lot of ladies, sisters especially, and probably other groups of women, that these women are not really having the child by the man that they're really choosing. They're just sitting there going in these streets, and they're fucking and sucking everything that possibly, and I say possibly, moves. And they're having a great time doing it. They're having their hot girl, their city girl, go get it. And they go around, and then a couple months later, they are knocked up. And then eventually they put the baby on you, especially if you do that, probably have something to possibly lose. I can't speak about the dudes that not hitting on cash shit, and no one said that she's not gonna really let you know you're the father because you're not hitting on nothing, but you sure damn put some, you blow her back out, that's for sure. Anyway, let's continue playing on. I think I found it, but
how do you hold those same Black experiences?
It's really not, though. The average makeup of a Black person in this country, because of, we know the history, is about 25% white. Mine is about 19. So I actually don't have the average makeup. We can even still say I have the average makeup. Oh, that's fine. But when I present very differently than a biracial person, I am obviously very aesthetically.
Actually, anything that's pushing close to 20% is kind of considered high, to be honest. I'm not going to knock it, But, that's the story. I remember my good friend Psycho and Renee were always saying there's a way to divide, who is actually fully Black. They go by the notion of almost over 70 or 75%. Last my check. I mean, I'm not really clued to the percentage, but to know that, you need to get DNA tests to know what percentage you have of admixture. And majority of Americans, especially Black folks, are not really interested in knowing how much percent Black they got. Mostly they're focusing, to be honest with you, is how much white they have and say, oh, I'm partially white. And that's just some backwards ass thinking, in my opinion. Okay, so now I found it. So let me I'm gonna have to use this and run it over here. As soon as this thing pulls up, I'm probably gonna mute it so I can follow along between both this discussion. All right. Let me do this. As I'm waiting for my thing to load up, I don't want to take such a long time. I don't want to be playing anything and it starts to play uninterruptedly. And I also put the Discord link in the chat room if people want to join Discord. And eventually, I'll throw the link if people want to give commentary now, but let me do that while this thing's loading up because this thing is acting up for some reason. All right. Okay. All right, I'm gonna keep playing because it looks like it's not coming up on my end, so I'm not be able to see it.
Black, it is clear that I have two Black parents, which your average biracial person is not. They carry, especially given the fact that when the creation of a biracial person is happening, you have a Black person who is partly white too.
All right, hold on, guys. Look like it's running now. All right. So I'm following along on both devices so I can see who's talking. All right, let's continue.
So that Black person's white genetics is going into it as well as the white person. So what ends up happening is...
We'll get to see what Crystal has to say when we return. We've got to take a quick break, Cynthia G. Didn't mean to cut you off. We'll be right back on the business of being Black to see how Crystal feels about all of this. Girl, your emotions should be swelling up over there. Swelling! Because you're Black.
They are.
Welcome back to...
You know, it's funny as she goes into it, they have to run a commercial because I find with a lot of mixed people, they don't really feel comfortable having certain conversation with regular Black folks, especially when we talk about the color divide. And I think it's really based on women, to be honest with y'all. All right, so let me fast forward this. All right, how many seconds is this? This is 38 seconds, so out of 59. Let me 13, so 59 subtracted by. So it has to be roughly 18 minutes of this. All right, so we're gonna keep playing because my track time's different from this. Oh, I see Amiri. Oh, Amiri went down. What's good, Van Gogh, the painter? What's good? What's good? Wait, who's this? Hold on a second, guys. What's good, Amiri? Can you hear me? Amiri?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, go. What's good?
What's up, man? I'm back in the house, man. I'm back in the building.
All right, what's good? I'm not sure why Char Willie's trolling me on the site now, man. She said turn this thing off. No, Char, don't troll. Do not do that, please. All right. Yeah. 1 second.
Yeah, so what you?
1 second, Mary. Hold on a second.
Okay.
All right, guys. Yeah. So what's good, Mary? I know you didn't really catch this.
Right.
But this is a breakdown of their discussion about should biracial be considered black? And really, I talk about more in that thing is biracial. Can they be separate from blacks? You get me? Because this is a constant conversation in regards to on the Fox Soul, which I have my own issues with Fox Soul, but they had a discussion with Miss G. You get me? A few days ago, a week ago. Of this day, it was actually almost a week. Thursday, right?
And what was her position?
Her position said that, from what I'm getting at, is that biracial should have their own category and separate from blacks. You know what I'm saying? And they should call themselves biracial.
And what would be but what would be the end goal of that? What would be the benefit of that to black people?
That's a good question. I gotta keep playing to hear because I missed a good portion of this, and I'm playing this from the beginning to the end. Only listen to the last snippets. But from what I can remember from last snippets, it seemed to me if no woman asked her that question, but you would. You get me?
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, the women that's on this panel, I'm not saying they're dumb, but they're not really asking real tangible questions, especially a woman that's pulls a statement that you should have a separate black. You should go by your own category. You get me?
All right. Because you know, blackness has always existed on a sliding scale in American society. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
always been on a sliding scale. It's never been static. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see how you change that. Now I do see how it could be a problem. You know, when you look at somebody like Meghan Markle and you have individuals like Tariq Nasheed who were trying to say that this woman is black when she does not look black. She does not look black. Meghan Markle does not look black. Just because you have African ancestry or African blood in your bloodline does not make you black. You see what I'm saying? It does not make you black, man. But that's something that Tariq does. Tariq is a grifter, man. He's a good grifter. With that, I think he's has some weight sincere on a certain level, but on another level, Tariq is full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Tariq is full of shit. That's a convenient argument you'll make. Meghan Markle ass is not black, man. Period. You know what I'm saying? So you would have to just go by the phenotype. How close to blackness is this person phenotypically? How close is this person to whiteness phenotypically? How likely is it for this biracial person to pass for white? And if it's a wide chasm between the way this person looks phenotypically and this person being able to pass for pass for white, then that person is black. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, correct.
It is like that's it. It's like, you know, it's like if you take coffee, right?
Yeah.
You take a hot black cup of coffee and you add cream to it, it doesn't cease to be fucking coffee.
Nope. It's dilute.
Yeah, it's still black. It's still coffee. It's still gonna have a shade of you know, of its original hue. I don't like a question like that. I don't even consider that a legitimate question.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Not. We're just not hearing any of what Cynthia's rationale was, but we know what her rationale is. Really, the reason like the reason why women like Cynthia G have a problem with black biracial women being considered black is because those women want a monopoly on black men. That's what that's about. They want a monopoly on black men. So if a black man dare deviate from what they say constitutes a black woman, then somehow that black man is in contradiction of his own identity.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And then the other part of it would be how biracial person himself identifies.
Say that again. Amir, you broke up. Say that one more time.
Color.
Repeat that. You're breaking up. Repeat what you said.
I'm trying to see what I had. I said the other part of it would be how does biracials themselves, you know what I mean? Like how does this biracial person see themselves? Because aside from anything else, blackness is not merely a color. Blackness is a culture. Blackness is a vibe. Blackness is an experience. Blackness is a swagger.
Yeah.
So it's more than just a skin color thing. It's more than just a 4C hair type of thing. Those things, to be honest with you, those things exist on the periphery of what it means to be black. The colorism, the futurism, and the texturism, yes, they denote blackness. However, they are not. Those things are not dynamic enough to fully encapsulate what blackness really is and what it means to be black. I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
How that when it comes to blackness, I'm astute enough to understand that blackness is dynamic enough to where it comes in an array of shades, hues, shapes, colors, and hair types. It this doesn't have to be the Earlshire paint job with the 4C hair, as Obsidian would say. It is dynamic. We are dynamic. As a people, we are a dynamic people. We come in all different shapes and colors. Who in the hell are you to say who isn't black and who is? If that person was raised within a black household with their black parents, and they identify with the culture, they identify with the vibe, they identify with the spirit and the vibration of what it means to be black, who in the hell are you? This is what I'm talking about. This xenophobia that these self-appointed influencers and leaders engage in, because they don't have the intellectual acumen to traverse this type of what you would call a heterodoxy. So who in the hell are you to cast somebody away from blackness? You don't own blackness. You don't own it. So that's why, like, I don't even see that as a valid goddamn question. But this is another question so that they can placate to the hurt black female fucking ego. Because they want to monopolize black men. The same black men sit there and run a goddamn mouth all day about who ain't shit. So why the fuck are you worried about who they getting with me?
To be honest, it's only when, but it's not really in regards to what the women's doing towards another group of men. But sure as hell, watching the men. Everything. And that's kind of odd. You gotta have the same energy on both sides. You get me?
Yeah, exactly. Anytime a black woman I've seen Cynthia do it. Anytime a black woman gets some type of validation or shine from a white man, they sit there and, like, you know, looking for that goddamn validation. As a people, as a culture, we don't have time to be sitting here playing to the hurt fucking ego of black women.
Yeah.
We don't have. I know we don't have time for that. If you're serious about combating white supremacy like you say you are, then we do not have time for that. Like the fight and the struggle isn't about making sure you the number one on this brother's preference or desirability list. It ain't about that. See what I'm saying? So these people are full of shit, man.
You know, one man wrote in the comment, and I probably will answer this to you, brother, when I finish run this tape. And he wrote, the real question is, should a woman who supports eugenics be allowed to talk about this? And you know, I'll give you my take late in a second, Chris, but I don't know if you want to answer that question. Oh, he probably will come back. Well, I'll give you my answer as I'm close to the end of this tape. So let's keep going. And please like the stream. I do open it for people to conversate for now. You know, questions will be approved. The link to join is also in the chat room. We can have this discussion, you know. As you know, there's not much talk and breakdown of this if I really want to look into this. And the reason why, because this is really a focus on the women's side in regards to colorism, because if you notice, I remember Miss Good Rashida Strober wrote 1 or 2 books on this, and she always advocates she is the black, the dark-skinned activist, right? Okay, good. My mind, she behind closed doors, she's in a relationship with a lighter hue, light-skinned man. But like I said, I digress.
The business of being black with Tammy Mack. I'm Tammy Mack, and the business of being black today is defining the ethnicity of biracial people. Please welcome content creator Tony Brian, criminal justice activist Mona Lisa Johnson, NAACP Image Award nominated actress Crystal Jasmine, and influencer and YouTuber Cynthia G. Crystal, a lot said here about you being able to identify yourself as biracial. What is your preference? Would you prefer to be identified as black, white, or biracial?
You know, I had to take some deep breaths during that break. I'm literally sweating over here from everything that was said. I was doing my best to remain professional and not just interject myself. It's me personally, I feel forced to say biracial a lot of the times. You know, I personally like to identify as black, and I have an amazing reason. Like, I feel like, you know, Cynthia, from her personal experiences, might be on base, but from, you know, I feel like it is a huge generalization for a lot of biracial people. You know, me personally, my father's Nigerian. Like I said, he is not mixed with white in any way, shape, or form. I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. He has African names for all of me and my siblings. You know, so I grew up celebrating those types of, you know, cultural differences. My mother, she may be biracial and seen as white in society, but she herself was raised by my grandfather that's a Black Panther. So to say that, you know, white people or white women are, you know, subjecting the Black children to white ideals is not always true. My mother was very much raised as a Black woman herself. Like, people hear my mom talk and they're like, where are you from? What are you mixed with? Because there's nothing white about her except for the tone of her skin. Barely, you know? So,
well, you know, possibly, you know, your mother's, you know, at the time getting her, you know, backbone out by this Nigerian man, obviously. And the man might be somewhat semi-conscious, but you know how it is nowadays in society, that because you sleep black doesn't really make you much black. I mean, unfortunately, but like I said, if your father is, and let's be honest, people, most Nigerians today, because they've been mixed with white for the last couple centuries, there's enough books that reveal this information. I think one particular book that goes into detail of the slave trade and, you know, dealing with the West Coast is The Daughters of the Trade, I think, written by Penny. Yeah, it's written by her. She has more in detail of a lot of European men having intercourse with the Black women and having these mixed children. So they are byproducts. A good portion of certain parts of Africa have some people that are light skinned because they were a byproduct of miscegenation for centuries. Some mostly by choice and some potentially by force overall. And I would say it's both, to be fair and honest, because when you have other people come in your land, it's not always a good thing. You know, if you look at the history of most Europeans, they're in the business of taking things and not giving, to be fair and honest. But yeah, let's keep going. Where's my thing?
To say that, you know, me being biracial, having a white mom means that I have these white ideals, and that my father wasn't present or didn't raise us with any other, ideas as far as our Black history, is very upsetting, and it's like, I have full blood siblings that are much darker than me. We were raised exactly the same. Why do they get to identify as Black and I don't?
What do you identify as?
I identify as Black.
Mona Lisa, how do you feel? Jump in here.
Well, I'm feeling the same way. I'm sweating over here. I don't even know why. When I start talking about this whole subject, it makes me really filled with anxiety because, ever since I was younger, I've never been Black enough. I've never been white enough. And as I grew older and I started working in the television field and in the field of social justice, I've never been anything other than, they don't know what I am. They're always questioning, is she Black? Is she white? What difference does it make? What difference does it make? That's number one. Number two, when I was younger, I was raised in a predominantly Black neighborhood. My dad and mother stayed together until I was about 8 years old. And then my dad married a Black woman. And so therefore she pretty much raised us and kind of put all the stuff in us. And I really didn't get to know any part of my white family. They disowned us because they said, and I will quote this, "I will have nothing to do with raising nigger children." That's what my grandmother and my grandfather told my mother. So therefore she pretty much raised us and kind of put all the stuff in us. And I really didn't get to know any part of my white family. They disowned us because they said, and I will quote this, "I will have nothing to do with raising nigger children." I really didn't get to know any part of my white family. They disowned us because they said, and I will quote this, "I will have nothing to do with raising nigger children." Does and kind of put all the stuff in us. And I really didn't get to know any part of my white family. They disowned us because they said, and I will quote this, "I will have nothing to do with raising nigger children."
Oh, Lordy. The sad truth. But she is not the first or last of many, I guess, white parents from their mate's side. Let you know right in your face and tell you, or, your actual father or mother, whoever it is, and tell you personally that they have nothing to do and they will not raise Negro children. This is always a thing constant throughout history, back then and still present today. Now, people say we live more of a multicultural society, but I think it's bullshit. We don't. How I know? Because I have people on my family side from a different country is going through this same problematic thing as well. And in the future, I'm probably going to find some video clips and do another stream on this, on the few females that are in relationships with non-Black mates, on how they're getting easy in the system and are cast away a lot of sisters once they knock up Black women or Black girls, whatever you want to call it, and send them back to the streets. And this is something that's not really discussed. Now, they could say that the Black man does too, which, yeah, he does in some cases, yes. But really, truly, over there, it's no different either. And I think the reason why that is because they look at the Black woman in the present day of society, right? America, Europe, anywhere we are in the world, they look at it and see them as more than a fun thing, a thing of release, unfortunately. And I think most women, Black women, have understand this and has accepted this role. And some will be in denial, which is respectful. But that's what it is in the society. And to know that this woman came out her own mouth, said that this is what she has experienced, it makes me want to ask the big question, like Amiri said. what outcomes you see these people now if they divide themselves towards the black people, because they have nowhere to go. They can't go on the white side. What end game? What benefits? And this is why I respect the great liberator, because he really asked the real legit questions. So let's continue. And please like the stream.
That's what my grandmother and my grandfather told my mother, who's no longer here on the earth, that they would have nothing to do with us. And so we knew nothing about our white side of our family. But does that mean that I didn't experience it growing up? No, it doesn't mean that, because I've always been around all types of people all of my life. But my true experience and the way I grew up was 100% Black. And how do I identify is I am a Black woman. Just because my skin does not denote that. Girl, you better look at my hair, okay? my hair is better now these days that we have all these great products, you know, that are designed for multicultural women and for mixed women. But when I was younger, I looked like a nappy-headed, big fro chick. I mean, I just looked like nobody could do anything with my hair. My mom didn't know what to do. My dad didn't know what to do. It wasn't until my dad married a Black woman that she started being able to do something with my hair. And I started feeling like a human again, and like I was beautiful, and like I had reason and purpose to live.
So then that's an interesting point of view. What if, Tony, there is a light-skinned Black woman whose mother is Black and whose father is Black?
Yeah, and this is exactly, I'm glad you asked that question, because I feel like from both perspectives, this is honestly more so a societal problem. And that's why I even said I made a video about this on my YouTube channel.
Now, Tony is the real darker hue woman on the panel. Let's let y'all know.
Said that I feel as if you honestly should identify what you feel you most fit, because as you guys stated, Crystal and Mona Lisa, that from your cultural standpoint, you feel like you are a Black woman, and that's like from your experience. That's like your experience completely. And I think from what Cynthia was saying was more so along the lines of people that don't have that cultural experience, and that's why I feel it just gets to be a very sticky situation, a sticky topic, because Black women, we do honestly struggle with feeling represented and loved and identified, especially when it comes to just like something like hair texture. Growing up, all I saw on like YouTube, like it was, first of all, it was hard to find videos with women with my texture. I have like 4A, 4B hair. At first, it was just hard to find Black women in general. Then you have Black.
I don't even think white folk know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like just dealing with kinkier textured hair. And then, so when you're on these YouTube channels, and then you start seeing women that do have curly hair, but it's not your curls. And that's what's being promoted all the time. And it honestly makes you question, is my hair beautiful? And it takes a lot and a lot of self-love and great parenting to make sure that you truly love yourself and embrace yourself. Because in media, what's considered pretty, if you are a Black woman, a lot of the time, are light skin or women with like more European features and curlier textured hair. So that's why I would always consider more of a societal problem, more so than a Black versus mixed problem. There are people that feed into the stereotypes and feed into the issues, but it definitely is something that we see a lot, because media is what we see every single day, and there's a problem in society.
Yeah. Crystal, yes, go ahead, Mona Lisa.
I'm sorry, Tammy. Can I say this? I mean, I want to interject that I would like us to possibly consider the idea that there's Black on Black jealousy. Black on Black jealousy. Like, I have never been discriminated by more people in my life than Black people. The white people don't do this to me as much as my own brothers and sisters do it to me. Black or dark-skinned Black women have treated me like, how dare you even call yourself Black? You don't know anything about being Black. And my light-skinned sisters have said, because you've got that skinny nose and those tiny lips is why you can get away. You're a passé blanc, as they say in New Orleans. That means pass for white.
Cynthia, you're itching and you're squirming.
Before she goes in that, yeah, there is jealousy amongst the women, because it goes back again. We in the Black community, we have a certain pathology of self-hatred, and like always, self-hatred leads to self-defeat. And with self-defeat will eventually probably lead to deletion if not careful. A good book to look and read is Self-Hatred and Self-Defeat, written by Sabado, in regards to all recording lectures by Amos N. Wilson. Good book, pick it up. Yeah, and you know, I hear stories constantly of chicks, young girls that become women. They do get teased and picked on by other women that are darker hued that come from two black parents, because there is a sense of jealousy, because every woman, no matter a stretch of life, are seeking attention. And if you're a woman that is passing for white, you're going to get mostly all attention in the black community, especially in institutions or in school systems where we reside in. There is a great divide. Let y'all know this. And the divide was always here. It's moved beyond the paper bag test when it was first created, roughly now 62 years ago. Let's keep going.
And in your seat over there, jealous?
I am.
Are you jealous?
No, I'm actually offended at the Black woman, because all I'm hearing is why it's beneficial for biracial people to identify as Black, but they're not thinking about how that's a detriment to Black women. And so for me, if I'm sitting here with two Black parents and a biracial person that has a white parent and a Black person is saying that they're Black, then that has to make me question, what am I? Am I a lesser Black woman? Because we certainly don't, like, we don't share the same phenotype, we don't share the same genetic makeup, we don't share the same hair texture. It is very clear that Crystal and Mona Lisa have a different parent than I do. It is very, very clear. They have a different phenotype than I do. So for biracial people even to go with the narrative that they're being discriminated against by Black women, because Black women want to keep our identity to ourselves, because we understand how you benefit from our identity, not only in the white community, but you benefit in the Black community as well. So I just think that biracial women have zero respect for Black women. I think they don't like Black women, because if you did, you would consider how you're co-opting of our identity rather than just sticking to your own, which is biracial. Then you can't possibly care. Like, why are you discounting your white parents? That's what I don't understand. And why won't you classify as white?
And another thing, it goes back to the mating ritual and competition, you know, that you're bold and you're very disrespectful towards Black people, Black women. And there are some biracials that are. Now, that could be the white side of them, right? It's coming from a white man, white woman, or a non-Black man or not Black woman, depending on the admixture. That, yeah, they'll feel indulged and bowed that they're better than you because of the system you're in. We all know, living around the system, that white is pure, white is right, etc., etc. So why is this such a surprise? I'll tell you why this is such a surprise. Because let's be honest, it's all in forms of divide and conquer, which they start this divide and conquer before, you know. No, let me push back. We've been divide and conquer for a while now. But when you have other groups come in your business, they create the divide even further and even push it more through what they put in your brain through the help of institutions, school systems, etc. I can't really say books because, let's be honest, majority of us don't read enough to really find the language or the decipher the higher groups that they talk about us in a way that is very much insulting. Now, and most Black people are more avid readers and read their history towards them and how we are tied into this so-called history, like Arthur Schomburg has said it, and what he told Jerry Clark back a century ago on this, that you must know this, that why you think and move the way you do is because someone has trained you to make you think and believe that you're less worth than you are now. That's why always they constantly pushing Black as a negative thing in all areas: religion, food, entertainment, you name it, all forms of institutions that they control to keep pushing the good and bad. And we reciprocate that information and put it and apply it to our everyday lives. So keep that in mind.
Crystal, that's a good question. Why won't you classify as white? There's an old movie, and it's a classic, The Imitation of Life. there's a biracial woman who refuses to identify as black. I mean, in all honesty, don't you benefit and privilege? Aren't you privileged to be biracial more so than a black woman, Crystal?
Absolutely not. You know, for me, I find it offensive to hear that, because at the end of the day, I feel we do get discriminated from on both sides. It's not a benefit being, you know, identifying as black. It's not a benefit identifying as white. We don't fit on either side. Black women clearly, I feel like, don't like racial women for the simple fact that we're not 100% black, which again is not our choice. Secondly, I don't identify as white because my white side of my family is not all white. They are themselves biracial. So how am I going to identify as something that I am not completely of just because my skin tone is a lot fairer?
So if you're not biracial, why are you representing biracial then?
I represent myself as black, and I stated that when she asked.
Let's take a quick break. Welcome back.
I don't like it when they have to sit there save some of these females on their panels, but it's expected, because I'll say this personally. Fox Soul right now is a shit show. I think it's a disgrace. I think it's another outlet to show more of the buffoonery of how black people operate and move. What is black? Majority of people that's on Run Fox Soul are two things, whether they're mixed or they have sexual confusions, one or the other. I don't know. You pick your poison. So to find that these are people are representing of the soul of Fox or the soul black folks, you in trouble, people. I'm just saying. Let's continue.
Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack, where the business of being black today is biracial people. What should they be identified as? Tony Mona Lisa said that when she was born, her grandparents, who are white, said, I want to have nothing to do with that N-word child. And I'm presuming Mona Lisa, they stuck to that till the day they died.
They did.
So how does that gel with what we're talking about today, Tony, in terms of her identifying as white, but white people won't welcome her? And then it seems as if black people aren't willing to accept biracial people either.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I can't fully speak to that, mainly because I am not biracial. But I will say so this is why I'm saying, like, from my perspective, what I've seen, I have not seen like anybody, at least on like my black side, ever, like my immediate family have ever went against anybody that is racial. They can accept and bring them welcoming arms. But like I said, I don't want to like really speak to that if it's my predominant experience. But I do feel that a lot of the times, that especially back in the day, that's something that was very, very normalized. And why now I see a lot of mixed people, biracial, whatever you want to identify that group of people as, identifying with one side more than the other, because what I'm saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, this is not my experience, but it seems as if the black side has been more welcoming, that they're not going to completely shun you out of their lives because you are considered a mixed child.
Well, Cynthia, Mona Lisa says black people discriminate against her more than white people, but then in the same in the same experience, she says that her white grandparents completely disowned her. So where is a position for,
you know, the white grandparents could be either two things, a baby boomer or silent generation, most likely. Today, it might still apply depending on the gender of the non-black person. Let's continue.
Biracial people, Cynthia G, if blacks or whites won't welcome them.
So here's what I find to be very interesting and typical of what biracial people tend to do. They will say that, you know, I can't identify as white, which we know white is closed. We know that white is a protected identity because there's power that comes with exclusivity. So whiteness is off the table. It's just not an option. And that's the reality of why biracial people don't identify as white, because they can't. But I'm pretty sure they will love the social prestige and privilege that comes with being white, but they don't have that option. So what they do is they want to bogart into the black community, specifically on black women, and say, I'm black, I want your identity because my white side won't let me use theirs. If you don't allow me to use it, then I'm going to call you racist. But there's nothing more racist than number one, your white parent disown you because you're Black, and then not even allowing you to identify as white because you're Black. But yet they don't have a beef with the white community because they can't be white. They have a beef with the Black community who won't, or Black women, because we don't want them taking our identity because there's negative consequences about that. That's why I'm saying biracial people don't care about
Mona Lisa, I want to jump in here. Mona Lisa, do you not identify as white because you can't identify as white, as Cynthia G said?
No, that's absolutely incorrect. And I never said it was racist either. I said jealous. Let's consider the word jealousy here. I don't consider, let me just say this, from the 60s to about the 80s, they forced me, the government, meaning God.
Now, what Molly said, this is a forced identity, which I agree with her. How are you doing, Mr. Dunbar? The link's in the chat room if you want to come up and give your take of a story if you want to share. I'll look forward to hear from you. Oh, Dr. Dunbar has a channel that y'all know. Yeah, the government does force identities and labels per se because they created what we call the box. And the reason why that is, for most Black people not familiar with, is way to keep the so-called wealth, money, and all this transfer to a certain group of people. Not saying Black people can't have wealth, but how we get our wealth is going to be totally different from how these people got wealth. Because the wealth they got, majority is stolen, unfortunately. And you as Black person, you got to do some things different to attain and keep the little wealth you have. A short scenario. If you notice, there's I think an interview done by, that was done with the special guest, Steve Harvey. And he talks about his trials and tribulations in regards to obtaining and growing his own money and wealth through the entertainment world. And he met some serious roadblocks. Some of them were so egregious that it almost got him in jail in a form of tax evasion. Now, as you know, what he had to do to pay those taxes that he was ripped off by other groups of men, particularly some men were not Black, where he was at, and I think he was in Chicago at the time, and he owed $20 billion. I mean, sorry, 20 million, my fault, in taxes. And the people that he entrusts with his money were stealing from him and not reporting. So you know what he did? Unlike some of the entertainers, unfortunately for Wesley Snipes, somebody will steal money from him too. And, you know, he actually got what we call, he didn't owe much, but he got, the government owe him money to a degree, but he served 3 damn years in jail for that. And Steve Harvey was going to be next in line to do time in jail for owing the government $20 million in back taxes. So what he did, he had to hustle like a shark and take every tour, every booking, and pay off within 4 years. And after paying off for 4 years, he eventually went to what we call mainstream in 2012. So that's like a backstory. I can't go in more detail to because I haven't covered content on it, but it's there. Here's another comment. All right, thank you, Dr. Amar. Yeah, that's some way. Let's keep going.
By my driver's license, by, you know, everything that I had to fill out paperwork wise, they forced me to choose that I had to identify as Black. My internal being struggled with the idea that I wanted to be both, because my mother was still present in my life, even though she was, you know, divorced from my father. She was still present, and I still got to experience her. But, you know, I don't feel like in any way, shape, or form, as we started to move into the 90s and 20s and stuff like that, or the 2000s, as we started moving into that, I started to see the evolvement of mankind, and I started to see that the younger people are starting to come to the table and demand that multicultural and biracial individuals be seen and be heard and be notified. I mean, be categorized as a particular person. I was just filling out my health insurance paperwork yesterday, and that was one of the boxes I could check, and I just got so elated. I didn't know what
you
to
say
do.
that you mean biracial?
It said multicultural.
Multicultural.
And I was totally shocked. I was just shocked, but I checked it because I was like, you know, at the end of the day, biracial, multicultural, race, all of that to me, you know, still is a myth, you know, as to all of the terminologies and the definitions and stuff like that. You know, I feel like a Black woman because I've experienced the Black culture and the experience of being Black. And I love that. I also would never deny my mother's Italian white heritage, ever. Ever. I've never been ashamed of it either. The only thing is that I just have to constantly keep, I'm 55 years old and I still have to this day, you know, define who I am the minute I walk into a room. And that is quite aggravating on
I can imagine. Crystal.
Oh, I mean, if her mom's Italian white, you know, some Italians are racist as well, if you're not familiar. Do y'all remember what do you call it? Joe Rogan when he made his little racial slurs, or you know, not racial slurs, but his racist comments on a broadcast that was broadcast probably years ago, and lo and behold, it was popped up. And people remember that. So don't think the Italians not just racist; they're just as racist too. Oh, I got the great Larry back on the line. What's good, Mary?
What up, kid? And I had a important phone call come through.
That's good.
You know?
That's good. That's good.
So I was dealing with that, but yeah. So I do want to address something though, and I'm not to try and co-opt your show, but I was just talking to my wife about it. I want to deal with this idea of a race war, and why race war is an oxymoron, and why it's a impossibility. And the reason why is because there's only a race war is a form of total war. What Karl von Clausewitz conceptualized as total war. Now, what is total war? Total war is unfettered, unchecked violence, right? But that's not what war is. War is using brutal, calculating, effective violence to obtain a long-term strategic objective. This is what you see Russia doing in Ukraine. You see, the purpose, like war is the eventuality of all political practices, because the purpose of political practices is to facilitate policy. That's the purpose of political practices. So this is just something that this whole thing, that's a race. Well, that's saber rattling, man. We're not even in the game when it comes to being strategic. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to real warfare, it's not emotional. It's not emotional, man. It's a strategic thing to where you're trying to accomplish a long-term objective and goal. You see what I'm saying? There's no such thing as a race war. Wars aren't fought for any moral reasons. They're not fought for any religious reasons or racial reasons. And see, the reason why total war exists as a theory, but it doesn't exist in practice, because it's two different things. And the reason why is because there are logistical realities and things that exist in the real world that you have to consider. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're not going to have just unfettered, unchecked violence. This is why, even though Black people have existed as a minority and a subjugated group in a white dominated society, the dominant society has still had to capitulate to some extent to the whims of and the demands of Black people, because their entire construct is threatened by the unfettered violence. This is why, like, you would see when they were doing forced integration, JFK and these presidents would have to deploy the National Guard.
Okay.
They would have to deploy the National Guard because they can't afford the race war. Because you know what a race war entails is the prospect of mutually assured destruction.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so people will always, the things that people need to exist and to live will always take precedent over unfettered, unchecked violence. And the reason why is because if a person doesn't have any food, how you gonna be violent? If you don't have any water, how you gonna be violent? If you don't have any shelter, how you gonna be violent? Eventually, the things that you need to survive, to exist, will become more important than the violence.
Okay. Okay.
It becomes more important than the violence. Those things exist as forms of control, man. I talked about that before. These are forms of control. We think race is binary.
Mm-hmm.
Race is binary. It's the blood and crip thing. If you become victims of if you become a victim of a group of people who identify as crip, eventually by default, because you've been victimized by them, what are you going to become? If you've been victimized by a group of people who identify as crip, what are you going to become? You don't know?
Shit. To be honest with you,
if you become victimized by a group, if you become a victim to a group of people who identify as crip, by default you become a blood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
By default.
Default. Yep. Correct.
So you can't have the Decepticons without the Autobots. This is control, man. This is social control, man. They didn't create white supremacy to control black people. They created white supremacy to control white people, to control the white serfdom, the plebs. This is a form of social control. So that the people on the top, the 1%, who rest off the backs of the 99%, so they keep the 99% fighting each other, so they can reap the resources. That's really what it is when you're talking about what racism is. Racism is no different than communism, capitalism, socialism. These are forms of control. Like we really fought a Cold War over the difference between communism and capitalism, but none of these isms of social, economic, political ideologies and their accompanying structures, none of these things can upseat human nature, which is fucking greed. So the same thing that undoes capitalism will undo communism, will undo socialism, greed, human nature, the thing you can't control for. So what I'm saying? And the thing that got me, well, go ahead.
But one thing, you mentioned greed, Mary. Do you think it's greed alone that really is the determining factor of where the world will really heading to? And people are just more consumed that I need it all. I'm gonna keep taking, and I'm never gonna give. There's gonna have to be a movement of the pendulum swing.
Yeah.
That's my question. The pendulum swing, you know what I'm saying? Some has to move back, because you can't just keep taking. Eventually you're gonna have to give something, and you can't just have it hoarded all to yourself.
Yeah.
You know? I'm just saying. But yeah. But keep going. That's one thing that came to mind.
Yeah, man. You know, because I was listening to Tariq. He's sitting there trying to. Yeah, sometimes some of that shit Tariq just some shit he just heard, and he was talking about how war is like trying to connect. Don't even understand how to connect the war and politics. You know, war is the.
Hello? You went out. Hello. When he gets this, make sure you guys like the stream. Also, if you want to share, you can share. The donate's in the chat room. I'll put it again in a second. But yeah, like I said, this is can biracial separate from blacks?
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, you can. You mean this? Okay. Mm-hmm. Be there. Okay. Yeah. So really,
Hello?
that is. Yeah, I'm there. Oh, you're in another device. All right, hold on. Let me move this down. Hear me? Hear me? Hello? Okay,
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, good. Okay, so let me take this.
Yeah, so war is the eventual end of all political practices. Because the purpose of war is to make is to make your opponent to make the consequences of your opponent's non-compliance more costly than the consequences of their compliance. That's the purpose of war. You know, war is strategic. You know what I'm saying? It's strategic, man. It's a strategic thing. Like people looking at what Putin doing in Russia, but I understand it. Ukraine represents a strategic objective for him. He needs it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It ain't got nothing to do about no like masculinity. These are a strategic objective, long-term objectives, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was just listening to Rick earlier today. I was like, look at this nigga mangling this shit.
I mean, I don't know how you can listen to Rick, bro. I'm not sure.
You know, I used to listen to Dick Gregory all the time, but you know, God rest in peace. Rest in peace. He passed away. You know, he transitioned. I used to listen to Dick Gregory a lot. Like even like cause I seen Tariq was talking about black people should get insurance, and that would stop these cops from killing us. And then I seen another white dude say it, but that's not their idea. They get that from Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory, the one who came. Dick Gregory said that 5 goddamn years ago. Y'all late as hell.
Oh, probably longer than that. Because think about it. He died in
when he died? Yeah, probably longer than that.
He died 5 years ago. Now to think about it.
Yeah, yeah. Man, shit.
Yeah. He's been going off this earth for a long time, man. You know. But like I said, you know, and one thing I never said is I agree with certain content creators that let's be fair and honest. A lot of men that wants to do content, you gotta be somewhat original. You can't be just constantly stealing points from everybody. Now it just gets redundant, especially people that really research if they heard something before. You get me? Especially if it comes from an older man, you know. So, but like I said, there's nothing original about these Negroes. I mean, I'm just keeping it real honest. I don't see nothing original about these cats, you know. But since you paused, let me keep running this.
Are you not representing yourself as white because white people won't let you in their circle?
Not at all. Like I said, my mother was raised by my grandfather, who is a black sister. So again, you know, she's Bayesian. She's not just, and she's Punjabi. So she's not just white, just because she is fair complected. You know, so there's no all white, 100% white in my family. We're all biracial on that side, and then my black side, we're Black and Native American. So it's not any part of me that is like, oh, society has changed. I can't identify as white. I don't want to. I don't have a reason to.
Tony, do you think biracial people are confused about their identity?
I would say there definitely is confusion with identity. I think they have to grow up with that all their lives, as we've already heard from 2 women that could attest to this. They have said that they have had struggles with picking a side, trying to see who they are. But I think I just want to speak on more so the fact that, though I think we made it clear that biracial, they might be raised by a certain culture and identify with that culture. But I think that what's missing is more so the privilege that biracial people have over Black women in many, many categories. And though you may not know because that's not your experience, but just once again, like growing up, I can just remember in middle school, like all the Black boys would always say, oh, I like her because she's mixed, or she's light skinned, she has curly hair. Like you hear that all the time. I don't think it becomes a jealousy. That's why I don't even want to put the whole Black women are jealous of biracial women and biracial women are jealous of Black women. I don't want to call it a jealousy thing. I think it's just when you constantly hear, especially darker skinned Black women, constantly hear that this group of people are more attractive and that's all they hear, that's why they may say you don't have the same experience that I have as a dark-skinned Black woman, or you don't have the experience as I have as a Black woman, period. Because there's a lot that goes into it. I'm not saying that your struggles don't exist, but there definitely is a privilege over Black women in many, many, many categories, whether in media or even like working in the day-to-day life.
Crystal.
Pause right there. Now, mind you, when I hear a lot of women that are jet black, and it said that they are not considered beautiful, it goes back again the self-esteem issue. What is being instilled into you in your household as a young girl growing into as a young woman? Because that is something besides what society will say, or you go in your environment, but what is also reinforced in your household, rather a man is present or not. Is your mom instilling Blackness, the beauty of Blackness, the praise of Blackness? These are questions that we don't really go into the root of asking. I will ask it for you. It is not praise, is not looked at as anything as an endear respectfulness in majority households, whether in America or abroad, where there's Black families, men and women. It's not praise that Blackness is beautiful. It's praise and it's godlike. As by default, look at shame, evil, etc. So when majority of Black girls growing up in any society, they're gonna feel that they're less respect, worth it, because it was never instilled in them from the first place. And that's something that needs to change. If you ladies really feel that you're gonna get this under control, because what you teach yourself, you will teach to your seeds. It's that simple. Let's continue.
Tony and Cynthia both have suggested that you have a privilege that they don't. And there has to be some truth to that. Do you see that at all?
No, I feel like it's a
So you don't see the music videos that use light-skinned women with curly hair. You don't see the boxes when you go to the hair salon and the representation as they the representation that they use on those boxes for hair goods and products. There's just so much that.
I mean, I visually see it. Yes, I'm not going to deny that I don't see, a lot of music videos that have lighter, fair complected women, but I feel like it is more, I don't see it as a privilege. I see it as, being used, I don't feel like we fit in on either side. So I don't see it as like, oh, I've got a one up on you because I'm fair complected. I feel like it's disgusting. Personally, and again, I'm gonna go back to my siblings being darker complected. Like, I don't see like I have a privilege over my sisters.
But
I
just
feel
in
like
that experience alone, would you say that your sisters who are darker than you have received treatment that wasn't equal to yours? Because what I do know, and this irritates me to no end, when there are two little kids and one is light skinned with the curly hair and then there's a dark skin, there's always more attention paid to the light skin with curly hair, and there's always this, you're so pretty, oh, she's so pretty, so she grows up to believe in her beauty. But then the darker skinned woman, not so much. Did you witness that with your siblings?
I've seen that in society, but not in my personal family. My father was very much, we are all equal. So I think why it bothers me so much is because we were raised the same, and it was kind of the opposite. Because my dad is Nigerian, my sisters seem to get the more praise. Like, I was jealous of my sisters for the fact that they had more melanated skin, that their hair was a different texture. I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll take a quick break.
Now, what y'all witnessing, that's Crystal. And when you look at Crystal, from last time I checked, Crystal is actually the one that looks more white passing, because she does have, straight hair. And, she will feel a little jealous depending on the treatment she get in her household, but nonetheless no different if she steps outside the household, because let's be honest, Blackness in the Black household today is not deem as anything else, praise or worship or anything else. Be respectful. And you know, I guess she works for NAACP. Let's keep going.
Welcome back to Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I'm Tammy Mack, and the business of being black today is identifying biracial ethnicity, if you will. I have with me today content creator Tony Brian, criminal justice activist Mona Lisa Johnson, NAACP Image Award nominated actress Crystal Jasmine, influencer and YouTuber Cynthia G is here with us. Before the break, I was asking Crystal, had she experienced her own privilege in terms of being biracial? She said, no, not really. Mona Lisa, what about you?
I'm going to say, I'm ashamed to admit this, but the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I have some stepsisters, and my stepsisters are very dark-skinned Black. And we've gone, and cousins also who are very dark-skinned. And we've gone to stores before, and I'm walking around kind of minding my own business, and then they're just maybe on the other side of me. And the next thing we know, we watch somebody following them because they're being accused of stealing, but we're in a high-end store. They're not even looking at me. I've experienced that. I've experienced having to show my birth certificate, and on my birth certificate, it says Negro as my race, right? It says Negro as my race. And I've had white people say to me, why would you want to leave that on your birth certificate? Get yourself a newer birth certificate where they don't even show the color or race anymore, and claim who you really are. I mean, look at you. You look white. Oh, I've definitely experienced the privilege side of it, but do I want to do that? And do I want to live in that energy? The answer would be no. I want to be truthful to who I am on both sides.
The experience that you've
Interesting. But you know, like I said, she's from certain parts down south, so she is white passing, and white people would let you know, say, you know, don't be deemed and say that you should accept this. You need to hide that as possible, especially if you look white passing. And I guess she identifies Black. Now, mind you, people, there is a spiritual aspect more than the physical. You know, I remember I was listening to another particular brother, and he always goes back to usually when people create these interracial unions, you are bringing back spiritual ties and people, that souls that came from another lifetime back into a different shell. And there's cases on that, but that's more of the so-called weird side of things, which I can't go into. But like I said, some people identify as Black from two different racial parents, and no person's going to change that. So, you're back, Amiri? What's good? All right. While he still listens.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back, kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what, though, man?
Mm-hmm.
Aside from anything else, what I've learned is that happiness is a choice. It's a choice, man. You can choose. You can choose to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And not let shit get to you. You know, this shit. A lot of the stuff we worry about, that we're conditioned to wear, this shit don't matter, man. You know what I mean? Not as much as we think it do. You know, things are never really as bad as they seem. You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep a positive attitude about stuff, and don't let stuff get you down. You know what I'm saying? And expect people to be who and what they are. People are going to always be true to themselves eventually. You know what I'm saying? I remember something like my dad would always tell me, you know, whatever it is, whatever you're doing, make sure you're right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You stand up for yourself, make sure you're right, though. You know, and you ride with that till, you know, to the bottom fall out. Because that's the only thing people understand. That's the only thing people respect is when you stand when you stand up for yourself and don't back down, no matter what it is, no matter what's going on.
And that's wise words. You get me? You gotta stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of our people don't really stay true to themselves. They always want to go by labels and go by what people define what you are, and that's where you have the problems. You know, especially if you're amongst the community,
right?
And if they're being of a contributing and not a hindrance, I have no problem with it. You get me? See, one thing with chaos reign, I don't have a problem with people that are a byproduct of two different racial parents overall, to be fair and honest. because they were not meant to be here, but they're here nonetheless. You get me? So
right.
either you're gonna see where they stand and deal with them, work with them, or you just leave them alone. That's simple.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
hard. They make it harder than it seems, bro. I just don't get it, you know.
Yeah. If I tell you how much time I spent worrying about shit that in the final analysis didn't even matter. You know what I'm saying? It didn't even matter, man. You know. Don't sweat the
All right, so let me keep playing this. Okay, I got I don't got much left in there, so let me keep playing.
Had with your siblings in the store and they being pinned with being thieves and you not so much. Does that give you a sense of guilt? Do you feel guilty if you acknowledge your non-black side?
I did when I was younger, yes. I feel like I want to cry now. I absolutely felt that when I was younger because I felt like I was betraying my family and betraying me as a human. But as I got older, I started realizing I didn't choose this. This is how God made me. And because this is how God made me, this is just who I am. I can no longer apologize, and I will not apologize for who I am anymore. I won't feel guilty, and I won't be ashamed of it.
Crystal, do you feel a sense of guilt when it comes to acknowledging the
One second, guys. All right, sorry about that, guys. I had some emergency. All right. Let's continue, guys. That was a quick pause. Sorry.
Not fully. I mean, I guess because my white side doesn't really acknowledge their white part of themselves either. So it's kind of hard to, acknowledge something that wasn't really taught to me necessarily. So, they don't. I mean, they identify as mixed. I identify as mixed. My black side, I identify as black. So I've got the attitude, like, and that's just how I was raised. I can't help it.
Cynthia G, who should be able to say who is white, who is black, or let's just say who is black? Who should be able to say who is black?
Well, I think who should be able to say who is black people. But I do recognize that we live in a society where, again, whiteness is closed off. So people who visibly are not looking white do not have the option of being white. And I think what Mona Lisa said was a contradiction, because in one breath she said that she was filling out an application and she was forced to put black on there, but then she said that she's identifying as black because she wants to, not because white isn't an option. Well, if you're being forced to identify as something, then one of them is not an option to you. But I think black people should be determining it. I think we need to disregard the one drop rule that wasn't really about who's actually black. It was actually about keeping money out of the black community. It wasn't about establishing a person as black. It was literally to turn an entire white man into a black man for the purposes of keeping wealth out of the community. And then for Crystal to say she does not recognize the privilege as she's entering into the black community where whiteness is put on a pedestal and proximity to whiteness is put on a pedestal is disingenuous. Furthermore, Bayesian is not a race. So, I mean, I'm trying to get out of your mother's culture and into her actual race, because Bayesian is not a race. So she could very well be fully white and you're biracial, which is what you came to represent, and because you're driving the argument for biracials, while then claiming to be black. I think this is just, especially when Mona Lisa stating that black women are jealous of biracial people, this is a gaslighting technique to bully black women into handing over their identity to a woman that has herself admitted that she does not present as black. When I walk out of my home, no one is confusing me but for anything other than black. But Crystal would get questioned on her blackness, and Mona Lisa certainly would get questioned on her blackness. I would not. So to disregard the experiences of black women and the consequences of you identifying as a black woman when you're not is actually your racism rather than ours. I think it's a complete disregard. I'm not comfortable with the assertion that I'm not even needed in the creation of myself. Essentially, for you to be black, that means that a white woman can give birth to a black woman, and black women are so insignificant that we're not even needed in the creation of ourselves.
Now, one drop rules. I don't want to say this, but I'll repeat this again. Yes, it's a creation by the European man, especially one drop, to keep money in his community. Yes. And the problem is, to be fair and honest, it's not going to go nowhere anytime soon either. And the reason why is because the whole world, including black people, have identified and accepted the one drop rule. Now, black people sit there even today said we don't accept this, which really that is a choice. I'm not too far in love with what we should be accepting at this point, to know that, you know, these people are byproducts of creation that we keep allowing in our communities to keep creating, that we complain about, whether it's coming from the black man or black women that interracially swirls. For whatever reason is, whether it's environmental issues or even go as far as for societal norms, you're still creating these people that you, in default, can complain about. And these people that are mixed know this. They know it's because we give them validation. We give them praise. We give them praise over ourselves. So obviously, by default, we in our mind think and feel that diluting and water down whatever genetics of black we have left is the way of the land today to do so. Now, I'm not really proponent when whoever makes excuse why they swirl. And then you do swirl to those that have mixed children right now. And because of this, you already set precedent to your children that has to possibly function in society that they are never going to be this. And then you hope that by them having one parent that's non-black while you're black, that the world is going to accept them as this and they won't cause them a harm But what we looking throughout, not only the data, but in the environment, that's totally different. Especially depending on the admixture. Like, I forgot her name again. The one that's Creole, she fully identifies black, but she is not black because she's passing of white. Same with Crystal. Crystal is passing for white as well. No black. So they don't have no skin in the game because they don't look black enough to really have a claim to two black women on the panel. But nonetheless, they do identify as black, rather by choice or not, because let's be honest, where are they going to go? That's why we have to look at the logic of it, say, all right, you want to identify them separate from black, but what is the real end game of doing so? What outcomes you seek in doing that? And really, that question was never asked to Miss G. So let's keep going. It's like a few more minutes left, and then I probably will see if anybody want to come up. Now I wrap it up.
Mona Lisa, she mentioned that you contradicted yourself. Did you want to respond to that?
Yes, I did. The whole story, obviously isn't told, so you can't necessarily assume that there was a contradiction there. Again, I said this is when I was in my very young years, in my 20s, okay? So in my 20s, when I go to get my driver's license and somebody tells me and refuses to grant me a driver's license unless I make a choice that they want me to make, I was forced into it. So I will still stand on that. And then I will also stand on the fact that as I got older, I definitely chose to be Black because I realized as time went on, yeah, I am a multicultural woman. Absolutely, I'm a multicultural woman. But when it comes down to what do you have to identify as, I have to identify as the Black culture because I really don't know any other culture outside of that. So I don't feel like that is any way, shape, or form conflicting information. That's just saying, this is what happened to me, and this is where I am today. I would love it if I could just say I'm multicultural completely and just leave me alone on whether I'm Black, whether I'm white, whether I'm whatever. And you're going to be around me and you're going to feel like you're around a Black woman all the time. But I definitely don't discount the most beautiful, powerful woman in this world, and that is the Black woman. I don't disregard her. I don't discount her. And I do not, I repeat, I do not think that she doesn't have the right to stand tall and proud in who she is without the infiltration of other and outside influences and things that are going on in our culture. So for me, I celebrate the woman, and I want you to know that, Cynthia.
But you can't celebrate the Black woman and then say the Black woman.
All right. What's good? D-Darrell, if you want to come up, it's in the chat room if you want to chime in on this. I know you're in the field of psychology, a real psychologist. If you can come in up and give your take on all this. And it goes back to show that, I find it interesting that I still find that it's Black women like her, and I'm not sure if what's the name? I don't know if her name is Tony, are still trying to push the identity of the people that already mix, that you must accept this. And you need to stop doing that, in my opinion. Yeah, if you want, come up, bro, if you can. Well, let me keep going.
Is racist and jealous because we have an issue with you identifying as a Black
she
woman.
She never said racist. She said jealous.
She said she's experienced more racism from Black people than she has from white people. I'm assuming, based off of the context, it sounds like it applied towards the identity of Blackness and restricting Blackness from her. That's what it came off as to me. But she can clarify that if she would like to.
Yeah, I think you're seeing two tunnel vision and not allowing yourself to broaden your horizon and your thought process. When I said let's challenge the thought of whether or not it's jealousy, I didn't say I think Black women are jealous. I think that's a great conversation to have because it's been brought up in my life multiple times. Am I jealous of them? Are they jealous of me? Is this a jealousy situation? I wanted us to have some proactive conversation. I think you're kind of pinpointing certain things and pushing the envelope to the point where you're pushing words and thoughts on people, particularly me. And so, I definitely don't do anything but celebrate the Black woman, and you or no one else can tell me otherwise.
Crystal, Cynthia said that your mother, how you identify your mother is not a race. It's not an ethnicity. You want to speak to that?
I really agree with Mona Lisa. I mean, there has been no point where we are saying, or I am saying, let me speak for myself. There's no point where I have said anything negative towards the darker complected Black woman. And it seems as though, Cynthia is very much in attack mode in regardless what we say. I can't help how my family raised me. I can't help, I'm from East Oakland, California. I was raised around nothing but Black people, my whole family. I was raised with my Black side of my family. So again, if that's how I identify, whether you agree, don't agree, that's not really my concern. I mean, I have never bashed a darker complected Black woman. I love my siblings for the complexion.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back on Business of Being Black. Welcome back.
Yeah, man. It goes but show that these biracials feel attacked, and possibly were attacked in a very much subtle way. You got to understand, if you're mixed and you're in the Black community, you're going to get some pushback for a certain gender of women. That's what I'm saying. But I have the one and only D. Darrell. Clientele. D. Darrell Rebirth is on the panel. What's good, D. Darrell?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
Good.
Hey, D. Darrell, did you ever caught this? This was last week, actually, when they had this conversation.
I've been so busy in the Umar Johnson sector, man. There's so much stuff going on in the sector, man. They got people trying to sue me for all kinds of stuff and things that I've been dealing with. I'm filing protective orders and all kind of. They had a guy then Houston tried to come to my business and harass me. Man, I've been dealing with so much stuff. I haven't had time to kind of parade around YouTube and see what the content looking like. But I would like to talk about the issue of the biracial person at this point. And a lot of the biracial people, particularly in the last 20, I'm gonna say 10 to 15, 20, maybe 20 years, that have allowed,
the whole generation.
Yeah, the last 20 years, I would say, that have allowed this biracial label to weaponize against Black people who are, when you look at them, they're not ambiguous looking. And so this is a function of white supremacy. Okay. And the thing about it is, see, what the biracial doesn't understand is that they're the first group of people who were mixed with Black and something else that are now trying to separate themselves from being Black. Historically, that was not the case. And see, that's what they're not understanding. And to me,
Wait, is my audio working? Hold on. Hear me? Hold on, guys. Okay, my thing's working. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
Sorry, it stopped. But you're good. You're good. Now we can hear you. Oh, damn. He's gonna come back. Give him a second. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this. If you want to contribute, donate. It's in the chat room. And let me see if I can find it. All right, he's back. Are you back?
Are you there? I apologize.
Yep. You sound clear. You sound perfect. Yep.
Okay, good. Great. So when I look at this, just like I do with many other things, particularly from a psychological, sociological standpoint, we have to look at the overall historical and developmental evolution of the process in which people who are classified as quote unquote biracial are thinking in these means. Okay, so if you look at prior to slavery, prior to the end of slavery, I didn't know of a biracial person that wasn't a slave.
Okay.
Could you? This whole thing of as if these people were considered Black. Okay, these people were enslaved. Okay. Also, we got to understand that this whole myth about the light-skinned person automatically being a house Negro That's a lie too. They were
Yeah.
in the fields just like any other dark skinned person. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this is the caveat that the biracial person who wants to say I'm not black
Mm-hmm.
is that they'll never tell a white person they're white. How many biracial people tell white people that they're white? How many biracial people, whenever somebody they're overly in a sense they're overly flippant in means of letting people know that they're not black, but they
Mm-hmm.
never tell the majority culture that they're white.
Hmm.
They never do that.
Interesting.
And so we got to look at that. We have to look at the sociological dynamic of the biracial person who tries to use the fact that they can use the term biracial to elevate themselves above being black, but they'll never use that to elevate themselves as it relates to being white.
They can't because whites create the definition of what is white and what is black.
Exactly. But see, this is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that the biracial who claims that they're white and black has a tendency to want to be around black people in 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 a way to remind them that they're better than you, but they're never integrated into white society to let white society know that I'm equal to you.
Mm-hmm.
You see. This is the duplicitous nature and the fact that it speaks to their own self hatred. But see, the biracial of yesterday, due to the fact that systematic racism was more in its face and the laws and so forth, they never considered themselves white.
Mm-hmm.
And they were more prone to say that I am black. I just
Mm-hmm.
happen to be a black person who had a white,
Parent.
one white parent.
Mm-hmm.
But now they want to create a whole new class as if I've even seen biracials, particularly on TV, social media, and etc., who would
Mm-hmm.
say they're dating another black person and they're in an interracial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact,
Okay.
I heard a lady on a panel. She stated that she is biracial, black and white,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and she's dating a black person, and that she's in an interracial relationship. You see what they're doing is that the problem with the biracial is the biracial never takes in consideration that the world does not see them the way their parent or their immediate family sees them. You see, the biracial that's raised by a white mother
Mm-hmm.
usually is taught that they are biracial and that they have to function in a way as if they don't have any black, particularly around white people, and that the fact that white people do mistreat biracials and treat them as black, they're taught to in some way ignore that. The, the
Okay.
the black mother that has a biracial child
Mm-hmm.
is probably more prone to teaching that child that they're black, but
Mm-hmm.
also the
Okay.
fact that they're going to also raise that child around other black people, and they're going to have more of an association with blackness based on the fact that the mother is the first teacher.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
and so the issue is that the biracial does not act the same way around white people as they act around black people, and they have a tendency, particularly you never see situations in white sectors where the biracial is going in there saying I'm white or I'm biracial white or I'm this and that. They never do that. But what you
Mm-hmm.
do see is the fact that the biracial comes into the black sectors of YouTube and social media and throws it in the face of black people that they're not black.
Oh, I've noticed that with certain people on social media and on YouTube, certain people I can't name much. off the head, but I've seen this. But before I ask my question, Darrell, one person wrote, "That's why I always ask D. Darrell. They fight hard to identify as black because white people don't accept them as white." And here's another story. Um, Mona Lisa said it in earlier this stream. When you go back and listen to it, that the white side of her family told not only her but maybe her mother or the parents, of her, say that they don't want to responsible to be raising or being part of raising Negro babies. You get me?
Right,
This is the white
right,
side of the family, mind
right,
you.
right.
So when I look at if this is the white side family, I know by default whether it's a white woman or a white man or non-black man or non-white woman or non-black woman, that they're not comfortable or in the, let's say, in the business of raising mixed children like that as a whole. You get me?
They're not.
And so when I look at it, say yes, the black it dependent on her mindset. Mind you now, Deidre, most black women today don't have that mindset that they're gonna raise their children to be black if they come from their father is not black now, or even back then, and even now. If you look at some of the mindset of a lot of these swirlers, you get me? They're not thinking
You
like that.
see, you see the swirler. This is the problem with the swirler.
Mm-hmm.
And this is and see, and I have firsthand. I guess I kind of can go back to my profession because
Mm-hmm.
I don't deal with a lot of biracial, interracial relationships, but I've
Mm-hmm.
dealt with enough of them, and I've dealt with all types of interracial relationships. I'm talking black, white Mexican, black Mexican,
Yeah.
Asian, white, Asian. I've dealt with all types of interracial and intercultural relationships.
Yeah.
And the main reason that interracial relationships do not work is because of social racism that they have
Mm.
to endure, and it's primarily with going into society and looked upon a certain way, and
Okay.
also the fact that the families don't, particularly the non-black family,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to deal with the fact that the person of their family is with them, nor they don't want to deal with the children. You see, the swirler doesn't, and this is the problem I've had with Crystal and Kerosene and others who preach this, because they don't talk about the overall um, environment as you as a black woman will have to navigate in being in a biracial relationship. Because I
Okay.
want to tell you firsthand, most of those relationships involve a situation. I'm not saying all, but most is going to involve a situation in which the white family is not going to want to deal with you.
Yeah.
The white family, half the white family is not going to go to your wedding.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to deal with your children,
Mm-hmm.
and you may hear some jokes, racial jokes, and they're not going to want to socialize with you. And if they do, they're being fake and phony. And that's the reality of interracial dating and the reality of interracial marriages. But this thing about, like, you just get this non-black man, and all of a sudden it's going to be the answer to all your problems. No, it's not. It's actually going to create more problems, because you're going to have to, you can't be comfortably a black woman with a non-black man, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have conversations, particularly if you are a black woman, that you've never had to have with a black man.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be treated a certain way on account of you being a black woman with a non-black man, particularly white. You're
Yeah.
going to be looked upon a certain way. You're going to be given maybe treated a certain way, and the families don't want to deal with you. They don't. I've
Mm-hmm.
had situations in which there were, and let's talk about the emotional abuse that swirlers submit themselves to in a marriage with a white man. See,
Okay.
one of the biggest untold stories is the large percentage of white men who racially fetishize black women and call them the word nigger.
Yeah. I've been hearing that.
And not only that, but they'll call them other racial names that are dehumanizing. And the fact of the matter is that the swirler in the psychology of the swirler is so emotionally invested in this man and emotional invested in the children that they have and keeping the family together that they will allow someone to abuse them verbally and
Mm-hmm. You there? Hold on. Make sure. Hold on, guys. I'm still doing something, guys. Hold on 1 second, guys. Let me see. Okay. Are you there? Hello? Hello?
yeah, I'm back. Yeah,
Okay.
the biracial, the swirler will allow this man to racially, from a racial standpoint, abuse her psychologically, emotionally, and verbally, and even physically.
Mm-hmm.
And see, and what that does is it speaks to the psychology, and this is for black people, period, because black men do the same thing. They
Yeah.
they they also allow white women and other women to fetishize them and verbally and emotionally racialize the relationship in a position in which you're basically at the will of the non-black person that you're married to, and you
Mm-hmm.
excuse things to keep the relationship going because you're emotionally vested.
Oh, yeah. You're
But
right.
see, this is another aspect that is not talked about. There are children who have to watch this. There are children who hear this from the
Mm-hmm.
non-black person degrading their partner, and thus they take that toxicity and apply it to interacting with other black people. Thus, you get a generation of biracials who now coming on social media
Mm-hmm.
acting like they're not black, acting as if they are something other. They're a whole different race of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it, what irritates the biracial is that the majority culture does not treat them that way. The way they think does not necessarily computate with the way they are being treated in reality.
Mm-hmm.
See, this was not the mindset of biracial people. They would just say I'm black.
Yeah.
They would not say that they're white.
Mm-hmm.
They would just say, or they would say I'm mixed, but they understand that I'm functioning as a black person, even though I'm mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that gets me the most is that most of these biracials, when you see them, you wouldn't even know they were mixed unless they told you.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, and
And but
sometimes,
but, but
yeah.
they'll take it upon themselves to remind you, as if you're getting some type of social capital by making me aware of something that you've been fixated on psychologically all your life.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, and I'm gonna say this, I had a biracial black lady who worked for me for from 2000, I think 17, and then she stopped working for me in 2020. She worked for me for 4 years, right?
Okay.
She was a classic case of a person who was biracial who did not know how to navigate around black people.
Oh, wow.
She was
Wow.
raised around. She was raised by her white mother. Her
Mm-hmm.
black father didn't give her much attention. She
Mm-hmm.
did not associate that much. She was very, very, um, I'm gonna say, not as comfortable as she would be around white people. To me, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that because if you were raised around white people all your life, you're gonna be more comfortable, even if those white people mistreated you, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
but and the fact that if you wasn't raised around a lot of black people, you're uncomfortable about and how you act around black people. And what she would do is when she was around white people, she would act really really girly and kind of like, suburban like and so forth, act very white. And then when she would be around a black person, she would be stereotypically black. And when I mean stereotypically black, I mean speaking slang, Look, man, and this was an educated black woman with a master's degree.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I almost fired her for coming in my office saying some stuff about what's up,
My
what's up,
nigga.
dog. No, she said something about my dog and they trying to play me. She said the way she said it, it was so stereotypical and it was so unprofessional. And I sat her down and I said, "Listen, ma'am, I know that you are mixed, but that is highly unprofessional, and I don't appreciate because I'm a black man. You think you can get away with
With
talking
that.
in a way that you would never talk to a white person like."
Exactly.
She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, I'm so sorry." And I told her, and I made that quite, and I'm pro black, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and she knows it. And I and
Hmm.
I and my thing is that you don't, and I'm gonna say this: don't try to racially patronize me in a stereotypical manner. As if you're gonna go from one end of the pendulum to the other, in which when you're around white people, you can clearly be yourself, which is more in line with what a white person, what a white lady would, what a suburban white girl would act like. And then when
Mm-hmm.
you're around a black person, now you want to be hooded out, as if I'm hooded out, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
my background. So don't take a white what they're inadvertently doing without consciously doing it is that they're taking on a white ideology and a white way of socializing amongst black people as if they were white, because
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I would expect a white person to try to do, not a person who's half black that doesn't know how to interact around other black people and to communicate around. She thinks that if I'm interacting around black people, I have to act in a niggerish manner,
Yeah.
which is basically how a white person would think. They think that you have to act
Mm-hmm.
stereotypically black. And yeah,
Yeah.
man, that happened. But with that being said, there were other people who told me that she acted and said certain things. And the thing about it, when you see her, nothing about her says white woman. Nothing except
Hmm.
her eyes. Except for her eyes are blue. She has light blue
You mean
eyes.
Hazel type, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
no, she got blue eyes. She has light blue eyes.
Oh
She
wow.
has
Okay.
light blue eyes, but her skin is light skin, but it ain't extreme white where you're thinking. I mean, you may look at her and say, well, you may look like you, but when I saw her, I just thought she was a light skinned person. I didn't think, I thought maybe
Was the hair four seed or is like a little looser?
her hair was not straight. Her hair was very curly and kinky,
Oh
but it was
wow.
thick and long. She had long hair, very down, but beyond her back, it was a very kinky, curly texture.
Mm-hmm.
But her hair, there are black people who have her texture of hair.
Mm-hmm.
There are black people who have her texture of hair, but it did not look extremely non-black, like very straight, very thin, fine hair. No, her hair
Mm-hmm.
was extremely thick and curly,
Mm-hmm.
and her shape, she was shaped like a sister,
Okay. Okay.
very much. The
Okay.
only thing about her, to me, that would make you think she was mixed was her eyes. That was it. Her eyes were light blue, but
But
nothing
everything
else
else
about her,
matches up.
huh?
But everything else matches up. The body on
Everything
point.
everything else was black. She had light skin. Now and when she even talked, she
Mm-hmm.
sounded like a black woman. But if she
Mm-hmm.
was around white people, all of a sudden the accent changed a little bit. The phrases and the little things that white people will say in the expressions became more Eurocentric in nature.
All right.
But see
What?
that's her not understanding. And see what really happens. I hate to say this.
Mhm.
There are a lot of parents that wrongly socialize their biracial children when interacted in society, and they're
Mhm.
doing those children a disservice. And I even told this to Irene Yvette with her biracial. Matter of fact, I remember I was on a panel with her on BMT,
Yeah.
She was on this thing about her children being biracial and if they got special privileges. And I said, you're a lie. That's not historically true. Biracial people did not get historical um um benefits as a whole. The only biracial children are mulattoes that you can say per se that were
Mm-hmm.
getting this preferential treatment as if they were born to rich white fathers.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and this was highly prevalent in Louisiana, which has the highest rate of biracial between black men. I don't know if it's still there, but at one time it was. We have what's called a Creole population that has a historic of French, white Frenchmen um, having concubines as for making black women concubines and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That was historically a thing that occurred at a high level, particularly in South Louisiana. Like Bomb Cherry is Creole.
Yeah.
My wife is Creole, has some Creole heritage in her,
Oh wow.
and so
Okay.
forth.
So she's
You
she's
know,
like like Bond Cherry, like in complexion, eyes, a little bit.
nah, she don't look like. That's the thing. Not all Creoles look like Bomb Cherry. Now, the overwhelming majority of them are light skinned, like Bomb,
Okay.
and so forth. But there's some that they're a little. There's some Creoles that are just light brown. Some they look different. Now, the majority of Creole people they're gonna look. You're gonna look at them and they're gonna look somewhat ambiguous a little bit. It all
Okay.
depends. But there's some that don't. Now, most of them have a French last name. Like my wife had a French. Her maiden name was French.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure Baum last name is probably something that's French. Most of them are born, have a French last name, and so
Okay.
forth, and things like that. And in Louisiana, there are little small towns that are like that where there's a bunch of 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 Creole people that live in these little towns that may be 5, 6, 7,000, 8, 10,000 or whatever like that. New Orleans has a large percentage of Creole people, and so on. But these people navigate as black. They don't sit there and say, and they look like they mix and they not. They got two black parents, and they don't even sit there talking about I ain't black. They don't do that because they
Mm-hmm.
know better. They know
Mm-hmm.
in the social climate that ain't gonna work. They know in the social climate of Louisiana or even whatever that they're gonna be socialized as black and they're gonna be treated as such.
Yeah.
And
Fact.
to me, I know that that's hard for the biracial person to because they think if I say I'm black, that means I'm denying myself of my part of my heritage. No, you're not. You're not denying yourself of anything. What you're doing is you're understanding the social climate in which you have to endure, and you're putting yourself in the best situation to win. And
Mm.
also in doing that, you're not trying to mistreat or elevate yourself because you look a certain way around the very people most of the time you're going to be classified with and socialized with. But see, another aspect of that is that black people, because of our self-hatred, we elevate light-skinned people or white-looking black people that have white features.
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop putting them on a pedestal and we have to stop treating them different,
Mm-hmm.
even to the detriment of our own women thinking they're less beautiful. We have to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I just got in trouble to almost getting sued because I told a light-skinned woman that actually is biracial. She's a biracial. This actually happened about 5 days ago. I actually told her that she was not that pretty and that the only reason why the guys are liking you is because you got long, straight hair and you're light skinned. And I said, I don't think you structurally. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it was true. If you look at her, man, if you look at her, you would think. Now that's some guys. If you like light skinned, high yellow women, you may like her, but if you look at her, it's basically a white woman dipped in some light chocolate, light brown chocolate.
Okay.
I'm just being honest. She has absolutely no black features. Her nose, her facial structure, the thinness, nothing about her tells you that she's black. The only thing that you would say, okay, she is black, is the fact that her skin is brown enough where you know she mixed. But everything else, she looked like a white woman. She got highly upset with me. Now they saying I did online sexual harassment.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
craziness. But the thing about it is this, brother. This is the thing about it. Um, she got upset because she didn't get the treatment and the validation that most black men would give her.
Hmm.
That was foreign for her to hear another black man tell her she is not as beautiful as she thinks she is.
But it goes to show you, D. Darrell, what women really need to function in society: the dick and the attention. Once you start not validating them, that means you're cutting the attention. They're gonna get in their feelings. And in her mind, she's in her rightful place. Well, I got punish you since you don't validate me. You should worship
Yeah.
me, like me. So I'm gonna sue you. I'm gonna punish you because you said that in front of my face. How dare you? You know what I'm saying? All that.
Yes. That's exactly what she did. She embellished what I stated, even though what I said, I did roast her, by way. I did. I ain't gonna lie, but it was not in no situation where it was some a harassment. It was no sexual harassment. Um, in order to sexually harass somebody, it has to be consistent, ongoing, where you're showing up in places and you're constantly doing things at an extreme level. It's not like I'm following you around and telling you that whatever, to the point where you're frustrated with navigating on social media. And she didn't
Mhm.
understand that. And so I said, if you do this, which I know she's probably not going to do it, but even though I'm actually taking legal action.
Okay.
I've actually contacted lawyers and my lawyer and so forth, and I'm actually in the process of and all the women that said that I did that, which was about 3 or 4 women.
Hmm.
I'm actually taking evidence as we speak, and I will send that in so that I can start sending cease and desist letters. And if I have to take it further, I will do so.
All right, Deidre, Water Snap
Yeah.
has some questions. Let me go to the bottom question and go back up top. Can you ask him the question you were going to ask that I posted in the chat? All right, the question he asked was, let me see this right question. It says here that Chaos Rain, I bet you and Deidre know it's a lot of black women coming back to the community with their biracial kids, classify them as black for decades. Ask him. And let me see if there's any other question beside it. I think that's the only question.
Okay. Are there a lot of black women coming back to the black community with their biracial children? Yes, they are. You know why?
Because
Because
they
the
can't be
white man
accepted on
dumped
the
them.
oversight.
The white man dumped them. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And see what people tend to miss. This what speaks to the lack of self introspection by
Mm-hmm.
people in general.
Yeah.
Um, we tend to blame others for the flaws within ourselves internally. So because I can't get a good black man, that means everything is wrong with the black man. Nothing is wrong with me. Therefore,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take the other route of trying to get a good white man. No, the problem is you cannot get a good black man because you're not a good person. See, nobody wants to deal with the self defeating behaviors of self that in some way can influence the probability of you obtaining whatever mating choice that you want. What we're doing is we're gonna blame a whole group of men for why they don't want you. It's all your fault. It ain't nothing. It's never my fault. Same thing for some of the men. They do the same thing. I can't get the women. It got to be something wrong with all. No. There's some things wrong with you that
Mm-hmm.
you need to change. These certain people don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the work that can put them in a position to win. They want things to be served on a platter, to be easy to obtain, and it's everybody else's fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And the thing about it, that is very representative of our society, and particularly people in our community. We don't want to do the work to get what we want. We think things are supposed to be ready-made for you, nice and easy, per se. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. They want everything to be ready-made for them, and it's not. That's not how things work. Now I need to take a break. Just give me a second. I need to put you on hold. I need to mute for a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me keep running this tape because it only has like 8 more minutes. So as you listen, you could stop and time me. All right. Good. All right. Let's continue the tape, guys. There's only 8 minutes left in this.
Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack. I am Tammy Mack on Fox Soul. Tony, what do you think about this conversation? Crystal and Mona Lisa both say that they're in no way trying to diss the Black woman.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like on both sides at this point. I feel as if there's a lot of information just not being understood fully. I mostly identify, I will say, with Cynthia. I think because we're both like fully Black women and we have similar experiences in that regard. But I also feel as if Mona Lisa and Crystal are not necessarily being malicious. I think their wording is, it could be seen as a little offensive when it does come to identifying the Black woman's experience. And I'm hoping that it's not with malicious intent that what they're saying in reference to. So I was a little bit confused too, as well, with Cynthia when Mona Lisa said about Black women being jealous of mixed women, because I've never been jealous. But now, when you said it, you were just throwing it out there as an idea, something to talk about. So, but yeah, at that point, it was kind of like, yeah, I wouldn't ever say that. Me personally, I've never been jealous of a mixed woman. I just am very clear on like what, from my experience, on how mixed women definitely do have a privilege. So I think what's being missed out on is definitely the privilege aspect, and just being able to identify, even if you personally don't think that you're better than a Black woman, I think we have to acknowledge the fact that in several scenarios, there are a lot of mixed women that do feel, I don't want to say a lot, but there are mixed women that do feel as if they are better than the Black woman because they have different complexion, lighter hair.
But can we all?
All right, Mary, you there? Mary? Hey, sound mute. Okay, I'll wait. I'm gonna keep going. Guys, I want to give you a chance to talk a little bit, Mary.
Right. Also say that if that is a thought of some biracial women, that thought has been perpetuated by American society.
For sure, by American society, even by Black men, and that's a lot of that is self-taught. Because like growing up, I was saying my little 6th grade self, we would hear little Black boys in that classroom saying that I want a mixed girl, or I want a woman that's Puerto Rican, Dominican, because they look better. That's what we were hearing, and it's definitely being pushed. The same exact ideas are being pushed from generation to generation, and it's because of what we see in media. We don't see dark-skinned Black women. Black women, rarely we even see, if we do, they're lighter skin. They probably don't even pass my color. They're always seen as these lighter women are seen as better than, and that's what's displayed and seen as greatness.
They call them yellow bones and red bones,
and that's all we heard growing up.
Back in my day. Yep. Tell us about your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I do commentary, and I actually recently just did a video on hair and Black women in our hair, and I actually mentioned mixed women and how they are seen as the forefront, especially when it comes to texture and being seen and deemed as someone that has like good hair, and the discussion of good hair and what nappy hair is.
Yeah, because my hair texture don't look nothing like no biracial hair texture. I be buying all them mixed chicks products and stuff, and I'm like, this ain't working on my hair. Somebody somewhere create a product that works on the Black woman's head that has the black woman's, you know, kinkiness like I have. You know, I have a curl, but it's a different kind of textured curl. You know,
a little more spring to it, a little bouncy.
Yeah, and when I get in the water, it don't look all, you know, it's not like I don't be wanting to shake it like that because it
can't
just
wake up and just go. No,
you gotta go up, you know,
gotta hold
like that. Mona Lisa, please talk to us about your YouTube series, Prisoner.
All right. I think that's it. You there, Mary? I think I'm done with this tape. Let me stop this. How to lower this? All right. Yeah, it look like they're talking about the people's YouTube channels, which I'm not really give a crap about. I think is irrelevant. But
Give me 1 second, brother.
Yeah, and Mary, if you dare speak in the timing. Yes, there you have it. For those that's not familiar, y'all can look it up for the full discussion. I gave my little breakdown of it. To be honest with y'all, when I hear the stories of some black women when they talk about the boys, everybody's socialized to thinking that white is right, white is pure, white is better. We condition our children not only for the institutions, but also from what we say and tell them from birth. And this is something that's not really been discussed amongst our communities. Now, if these men were still part of the community, maybe they might have pushed back in regards to the psychological damage to their children towards the mother that's teaching this. Possibly. And I say possibly. But overall, you know, to just say that these boys just come out the womb and they just want something white, bright. No, you have to be socialized. You have to be conditioned for that overall. And it applies to you as ladies too, what your selections are.
I'm back, bro.
So, yeah, back. Oh, good. Yeah. So when I hear a few black women that talk this, whether they're light skin or, you know, blackity black, you know, it's like I look at overall as an excuse. You know what I'm saying? Because you're teaching and socializing your children what they think is the parameters of beauty. You get me?
Right.
That we could control. I don't care what psychological things they put towards your babies for institutions. And they are doing this, and that means you got to work twice as hard to reprogram them. And I had this conversation with Rashida Scorber, and I asked her, what methods you take to reinforce the positivity of blackness to your children? And she told me she does things from imagery and other things to keep reinforcing this if the children are taking on this so-called Western education.
Right.
So there's no excuse.
The best thing you can do, because I've actually I had some kids in foster care that I had to do that with, and for me, to psychologically condition and train kids to love themselves that are mixed like that, or what have you, or they have colorism issues.
Yeah.
Particularly, and so forth. You have to reinforce the positive attributes of those people that look like them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the school system doesn't do, because basically you learn about everybody except for yourself.
Exactly.
And the only time you think about black people is slavery, which is not necessarily, when you look at the totality of our experience, slavery is not the be all end all. Mm-hmm. So for me, I encourage, like for girls, doll babies, any color cartoon, anything, and even people in real life, you have to be, the best reinforcement is for you to be the reinforcement of the beauty. Exactly. And or what a black person is supposed to be like. So if you're that black parent, the best, you giving that child the best role model is actually the most effective thing that they can have. They're seeing another black person in a beautiful light, in a positive manner. Same thing for boys or girls. I mean, there are things you can do, such as religious wise, having religious black figures, black books, paintings that look like and reflect you and the culture and so forth in a positive manner. But as a parent, you're the best instrument to validate a person loving black people.
Excellent. Amiri, you there? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. what I'm saying?
Yeah, what's up?
You know, I got two people from Louisiana, born and raised up here. You know, they know what it
Oh,
is.
okay.
But I'm Creed. You know, they do us from originally from Louisiana. You know that, right? I think yes. You're
Yeah,
originally
yeah.
right?
I'm from West Wego.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not
West
that
where?
far from New Orleans. West Wego.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, West Wego, Avondale, Kennedy Heights.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, not that far from New Orleans.
Okay.
It's like considered, the New Orleans metropolitan area.
Oh,
And
what parish is that?
Jefferson.
Oh, you said Jefferson. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty much New Orleans.
Yeah, Jefferson Parish. Yeah, because Jefferson Parish is a part of New Orleans. Matter of fact, when you cross over the wait, no, it
Right.
is because you take. It's been a long. It's been years since I lived down there, but I know you could take Jefferson Highway. You take Jefferson Highway down to Holly Grove and all that. Matter of fact, I believe. If I
Right.
remember, if my memory serves me correctly. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. So yeah, we got finished listening to the Shrill Doctor. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Talking about his let's drill. No, bitches, you mean let's shrill, which is shrill ass. You know what I'm saying? Always on the goddamn,
Okay.
always on the goddamn mouth sound. Let me leave Cynthia alone. Cynthia, good people, man. Let me stop. Let me stop. Let me not be that way. Let me be the bigger person, man. Let me leave that girl alone. I'm happy for a success with her channel. Really, you can't even really on a certain level. You can't hold a lot of the things that you see black people doing against them because really these are nothing but coping mechanisms and survival tactics that we have to employ in order to survive in a pathological environment. There is no such thing as black pathology. The real pathology is white supremacy. That is the real pathology. We use the specter of black pathology or black pathological behavior because we don't want to deal with the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room that frightens us on a
Mm-hmm.
subconscious level. This is what's really going on. So let me not do that. Let me be better. But aside from that, what she was talking about, like I mentioned to you before, this is the confusion that like just look at the confusion that comes from the whole biracial thing. That's why I was just what I was just mentioning, talking about how the real pathology is white supremacy. How it creates um these conflicting identities that people have to wrestle with. And then the white community and the black community, we have to fight like jockey with each other for these people for the right to either claim them or disown them. You know what I mean? But really, ultimately, black people do not have any power to strike any group of people from blackness. Blackness is not our construct. This is blackness for us has been placed on us as a stigma. It's like you hear this all the time with the N word. And this debate on whether we should say it or whether we should not say it, if it's a term of endearment or whatever it is. I think you see the same thing with blackness. If you say that we shouldn't use the N word, well then we shouldn't use blackness either. Both of these things were stigmas that were placed on us. That we, as a coping mechanism and a survival mechanism, we uh, gave an identity to it and claimed it and made it our own. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, that's really not ours. This is something that was placed on us for the purpose of dehumanizing us, devaluing us, and colonizing the black body, black male and female bodies. Like even when we're talking about like colorism and texturism and futurism and these things, um, there's this oftentimes coming from the perspective that Cynthia was coming from. There's this thing where I think it's too easy for sisters to just castigate brothers for having this affinity for whiteness, which on some level, some of that is true, but I don't think it's an absolute truth. I think it's much more nuanced than that. I've spoken about the nuance because I'm not going to blame a brother if he wants a feminine, petite, submissive woman. Like I think on a certain level when we make those things wholly European concepts, what we're actually displaying is our internalized whiteness because because we've just been conditioned psychologically to associate those things with the former as if you didn't have submissive, feminine, cooperative fit women in Africa before there was ever any, European on the planet. So you can't claim to be the mothers of civilization and not want to own femininity. How make that square? How are you the mothers of civilization, but you don't want to own femininity? But you'll own this mantra of being independent, as if femininity and independence can't occupy the same space. Like as if a woman can't be both feminine and independent on a certain level. I don't necessarily look at independence as something to shun or a red flag. That's not the question. The question is, can you be interdependent when you need to be? Can you exist in a relationship with a man that causes both give and take? You see what I'm saying? Like, see how what I was just talking about with the pathology of white supremacy, how it's created these conflicting identities within all of us. This is really what the biracial thing is talking about. Should they be considered black or not? These conflicting identities that exist. What is the difference tell me what's the difference between a person who's biologically biracial and a black person who may be biologically black but mentally biracial? Because what it is you both you take on ideologies or concepts or philosophies that we would say typify what we would consider black culture, but then you have this internalized whiteness with you too. Well, you're biracial too. It may not be biological, but psychologically and mentally, you're biracial. If you sit on YouTube all day, only denigrating your group of men who, if you are God, the black woman is God, or been made in your image, then like how you do that? You know what I'm saying? You're biracial because everything, this is what me and Cynthia had our falling out before when I used to be telling her that shit she was saying was some bullshit. You see what I'm saying? Because you didn't like the things that you're saying. You're not saying anything new. You're not saying anything that black men haven't heard. You're not saying anything that hasn't been placed on black men from the moment they were put over here in chattel slavery. So you're not saying anything groundbreaking or revolutionary. This is the running theme about black men. Everything that you're saying. So you're all you're doing is peddling your internalized whiteness. So you're biracial. You're not operating with a true black ethic. So stop being a hypocrite. Because that's exactly what
Who in the
Amir, you went out. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I know. Hold on.
What's up, brother? Speak.
Hey, what's up, D-Real? Chaos,
What's
Mr.
good,
Mary,
man?
how you doing?
I'm good. Good seeing you. Good seeing you. So what's on your mind, brother? Speak, Wes Mary.
Yeah, the whole biracial thing has always been, I think it's silly, like Amiri said, and I said that before on different panels. When people talk about these biracial, they're coming from a place of emotional bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Because some biracial said something to them, they're the guy that they like or the girl that they like picked a biracial man or woman over them, and they feeling some type of way. Oh, they ain't black. I'm like, meanwhile, you don't have the power to and do. You don't have the power to even make that decision because you never created that system anyway. It was created by white folks, and you don't have no power to even decide one way or the other. And then on top of that, a lot of these people who do that are hypocritical at best because one biracial, oh, I don't accept them. They ain't black, blah blah, yakety smackety. But then there's another one that they'll accept. Oh, they black. They with us. They down with us. My thing is, if it was across the board, I wouldn't have an issue. But it's not across the board. They picking and choosing. You, and what's even worse, the ones that want to be black, they down with being black, whether it's because they can't be accepted by whites or they just generally want to be black. These are the people they want to crucify, tell them they ain't black. But the ones that don't claim black, they don't want to be black, never they have no interest in being black. These are the ones that they want to push blackness on them.
Okay.
So you picking and choosing, and then you gonna come and cry about it. To me, I'd be like, I call that bullshit out every time. It's bullshit. And then people like, oh, you care for biracials. It's not that I care or not. Is I'm just tired of the crying and whining about it. The end result, if you ain't got no power, it don't matter if you accept it or not. You have no power over it. It's even back to that whole thing. I've heard black women talking about, well, if we leave black men alone, then everybody else gonna leave them alone. And I'm like, no,
That ain't
because
true.
I know.
Who said that dumb shit?
Oh, I heard that from Cynthia G and some of the women over there. They said that.
They're hypothesizing something without evidence of what would happen.
Right. And
Wait, hold on. What she said again?
They said over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was there when some people said it. If they leave black men alone wholesale, the other races of women will leave black men alone.
No, they ain't.
Okay. Out their own.
All right, so let's dissect that. Since the inception of the black man here in the West, is there one point in time the so-called non-black woman has not entertained a black man yet?
No, and that's the thing.
So that defeats that whole premise during enslavement and even now.
That's what I was saying. You go to slavery. White women were sneaking around on their husbands to get with black men, and they gave no fucks about what the black women were doing. They didn't care.
And you know why that is? Because it's in the nature of woman that they need a man.
But see, that was the whole purpose. That was the whole purpose of the sexual liberation.
The white
movement
woman had the power to do that. They had the power to go. They had the power to go after that black man whenever they wanted to.
Yeah, they like we know from namely Dr. Tommy Curry's book, The Man Not, that black men would often be raped by white women. You see, like the women's sexual liberation movement never had anything to do with black women. Black women have never been sexually restricted. They've been the most sexually accessible woman in American society. The black woman's very sexuality was a means of labor and wealth production. This is what the breeding farms were about. The breeding farms were about because human trafficking had been outlawed by the Constitution of the United States of America. So that's why they had to do the slave breeding. So like that's what the sexual liberation movement is about. It was about white women having open access to black men that they fetishize the same way white men had sexual access to the black woman that they fetishize. See how Cynthia G and them have become enlisted in this That's what I was just talking about. This colonization of the black male body by making it seem as if um as if I lost my dog, my train of thought. But that's what that is. Like they colonized the black male body and made it uh, purely a thing of of work and and sexual exploitation. See, we believe that men can't be sexually exploited, but this has been the experience of black men in Western society, where they've been sexually exploited just like black women. But we've been taught to look at it through the prism of sex and gender, and not to look at it through for what it really is, which is the prism of racism. Because it's the same thing that they did to the black woman, they did to the black man. It was just the white women doing it, and look, it went all types of ways because you had a lot of these slave masters who had a hankering. They were like, they was a lot of them was bisexual, homosexual, trisexual. Like
Yes.
even our very concept of sexuality as black men and black women has been colonized. Like
Exactly.
Exactly.
that whole doggy style thing, that's some bullshit that came from slavery. I don't think we get that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Correct.
like doggy style. That's the reason why you call it doggy style, because it's a very animalistic way to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't even had our own autonomy to create and formulate our own constructs and concepts about what constitutes um sex, healthy sexual relationships and interactions, because we've been the black male and black female body have been colonized and exploited.
I go even further.
Right.
People don't understand most mammals or humans or anything.
Mm,
Usually, we make sex is usually face to face, the missionary,
yeah.
because it's more connecting. See that doggy style thing that most people get caught up in is usually another form of because behind that you see a
It's a
lot.
form of bestiality.
There you go. That's right. Thank
And
you.
They like
domination.
when they would, yeah, like when they would do that, like to sisters. It's a form of bestiality, man. You know what I mean? And do you think about it? That is like that's how that Dookie love thing with this homosexual. I don't want to get nothing, your
Yeah,
channel fag. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
you
We
see
get
these very deviant ways of having sex. Now, even when Chaos mentioned, what we all know of is the natural position of missionary. It's the reason why it's called submission, missionary, submission. Like that, that is an act of submission. I've told these sisters that no, it's not. I'm not gonna submit. You ain't gonna submit, but you got your legs wide open. You know what I'm saying? And back, and this man all up inside you. You submitting. You know what I mean? Like there is a conversation to be had about the inherent dominance that a man will have over a woman, particularly when it comes to the realm of sex. It's
Right.
an inherent male dominated thing. Like even not just that. Like if you look at it, and I was talking, I made this correlation before. If you look at it, uh, sex is actually a form of male colonization of the female body. It's the reason why you hear colloquially people will call their sperm what? Little soldiers. So you colonize a woman's womb with your little soldiers, and you bring that brings forth a baby. You see what I'm saying? So it's like a deep connection with that. And so that's why they've always sought to sexually demoralize us. This isn't anything new. And they didn't just do it to black men and black women. They did this to they did this to indigenous people groups everywhere they went and colonized. They would flood that area with alcohol and pornographic material, because you want to sexually demoralize that group of people. Because when you sexually demoralize them, what happens is the men lose any impetus to fight or resist, because now they've become sexually wanton. So this is all they think about. You over sexualize the women, where the women make themselves now overly sexually accessible, and then from the union of that, you have these children who come up that don't really have a strong family structure. So the children become a prey. The children become fodder and pawns for that colonizing group. That was a thing that they would do. I have the book. It's called Empire and Sexuality, and it even goes into um it even goes into who was the men who started the modern pornography coming in through the colonization. This is just the same thing. Like, Tariq has that movie Buck Breaking, but we think of it as a homosexual thing. But a man can be buck broken through heterosexual sex too, because now he's become overly sexualized. The woman has become over sexualized, hypersexualized. She's made herself so readily accessible. Now this man can hide out in your womb instead of standing up and being a man. That's not me saying that. That's Dr. Francis Cresswell Wells saying that in the ISIS papers. So this is why you see the Meg Thee Stallion and the Cardi B, and they force feed these narratives to sisters, because they know that this will placate the men, and the men will become preoccupied with pussy and forget all about the power.
Exactly.
Because the woman has made herself overly accessible.
Right.
Yeah.
But women like Cynthia G, they never want to have a conversation about that. And
No,
then wonder why. Well, go ahead.
No, because that would put emphasis on that would put the spotlight on what the women were doing to participate in this stuff. It's just the same with even colorism, the whole racial stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They perpetuate a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Men, yeah, they have their preferences, but the women push it more than even the men.
Yeah.
The hair, all that stuff. My hair, I didn't hear that from a man. I ain't hear no man very much talking about my hair if it was growing like that. No, I heard that from my mother and other women. They care more about that than men.
Yep.
So when we talk about this whole colorism, biracial stuff, this is women saying this stuff.
Yep.
Men are not going around like this.
And really, what that is because what it really is that because when you now you have to incorporate the whole alpha male beta male thing into it, where a lot of that self-consciousness arises from this need they have to want to be validated by whom they perceive as the alpha male, which is the white male. The only reason why I'm not gonna say the only reason, but part of the reason why sisters may desire black men, it's not necessarily. And I talked about this before, because we the most loyal. You know what I'm saying? Stop it. The only reason is because y'all fetishize black men the same way these white women do. You know what I'm saying? How the hell you gonna tell me? How the hell you gonna tell me you the most loyal? But show me one. Not, and the only time they mean that because he still be sucking y'all and fucking y'all and having babies by y'all. That don't mean a goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying? Tell me when is the last time black women lockstep follow black men on any political issue that of the day? Since the 60s. Name me one. We just had a prime example of it with Ice Cube and Trump and Joe Biden. And now Jim Crow Joe ain't giving your black ass a goddamn thing. Hasn't given you nothing. He's prioritized everybody else over you.
Yeah.
And you rejected to follow the lead of your men on those issues.
Right. And then what it is when you tell them that, it's like, oh no, it's the men. I'm like, no, it's the environment, and they're picking the best of the worst. I'm like, no, you picking who you desire.
Right.
You always desire them. And it's been like, they talk about this black male worship, and I'm like, where's the worship for all these men that y'all keep talking about? It was only certain men.
Exactly.
And it wasn't on some, we're gonna follow that lead and we're gonna support it. No, it's because you want their penis and you want to control it.
Yeah. It's always about control, brother. But let me.
They want a monopoly on. They want a monopoly on the black male sex market, on the black male mating market.
Yeah.
They want a monopoly. They're running the same game that black capitalists run on black people.
Mm-hmm.
Support black businesses, and of course, by black businesses, they mean them.
Okay. Brother Pro Sweet, Water Sample says question, and this is probably gonna be it because I gotta soon shut this down. What's the question? Brother speaks. What is the connection with slavery and the psychology of black women continuously participating in ghetto G?
Well, it's the thing of the white man has the power, so you're trying to get in with white men. That's all it is. It's no different that if let's just say if the Hispanic man had the power right now, the women we getting on. You have a Hispanic version of that. It's all about getting with the people in power. It's just like when we this whole discussion about the biracial thing it's that connection to whiteness. You want to get to where the power is. Women desire power, and who has it, they're gonna go with. So if I got I don't even want to talk about the ghetto, but just in general, you've seen. You had was that Alice Walker? Somebody said, "I would rather be a white man's whore than
a black man's what?"
Right, something like that.
Yeah, a black man's husband or something. Yeah.
Something like that. Some way they said it, but that's it because they have the power. The closer you get to power, people will do anything they have to do to get to that. Those women were in slavery. Not all those women were getting raped. Some of these women openly gave themselves to that white master. Why? Because that's where the power is. That's where the promise of a better life. And it goes back to this whole thing about the biracial part. A lot of those some of these biracials think that, hey, let me backtrack. Some of these black women will get with a white man so that their child will be biracial, so that the child would have a better chance of a better life. That's what was going on. And people don't want to admit that. A lot of black men who love black women don't want to admit that, and they don't want to say that because that would look bad on the black women. This whole biracial argument is black women trying to reach whiteness, and they don't want to admit that they were part of the reason why this was what it was. Some of it, yes, like I said, they were great. But some of these women were not great. They willingly went with it. Because again, you're going to where the power lies. And if you get with a certain white dude, yeah, you might take having to deal with his fetishes. But if it means for a better life, you do that. So, but it'd be the same if, like I said, any other race, they would do the same thing because it's just where the power lies. You know?
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Any closing remarks, guys?
Make hair hats great again. Make hair hats great again.
Hey, you better be careful. Nikki will come after you.
Oh yeah, she was saying something, huh?
Yeah.
Her Stretch Armstrong ass, all that plastic she got on.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, yeah, like with that ghetto gagger thing, that's it's the same thing. Like it's a survival mechanism. You know what I'm saying? It's a survival mechanism. And then aside from that, hoes are gonna do hoes things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do
You know what
some.
I mean? We have to learn how to restore honor and within ourselves as a people in the community. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? The important and I always talk along those themes of like honor, integrity, and listen, like those the reason why there's a premium placed on those things, and the reason why those things are worth their weight in gold is because it's not easy having honor and having integrity. Oftentimes, it comes with a cost, and I know the reputation I have uh, for how I come at brothers and stuff like that because I don't mind talking about a nigga if he ain't shit. I just don't mind doing it. But one thing I will say, and this is something my mother would always tell me, and that is that if you want to know who Jesus is, look at the black man in America. And unfortunately, that's just the cross and the burden we bear, the hand we was dealt, in this society. And the danger in that is is that when you look at the story of Jesus, the whole time while he performed miracles and while he, you know, fed the 5,000 with 5 fish and 2 loaves of bread or whatever it was, or while he walked on water, while he raised the dead and healed the sick and did all these miracles, they charged him as being a magician or a work of Beelzebub. You see what I'm saying? Or a devil. It was only when he was on the cross and a Roman centurion pierced his side and he gave up the ghost that then he was acknowledged to be the Son of God. And I think on a certain level, the that's the tragedy of the black male experience in America. That you can only prove your worth as a black man when you make that ultimate sacrifice. And a lot of times that's the level of indifference that that women like Cynthia and others come from. That was just my final thoughts.
All right, thank you, Mary, and I thank everybody for listening to today's stream. You left your closing remarks, brother Pro Sweet. Just make sure.
Yeah. This whole thing where about biracials, what they think and what they do means nothing in your life. Um, if you want your children to love themselves, you have to put in the work. I've heard this thing about aborting black male babies. The black males are going to turn on their mothers and stuff like that. But if you're not a good mother, if you're not a good mother, then yeah, that boy is going to turn on you. And it's not because he hates women. It's not because of Kevin Samuels. It's not because of the black man. It's because of you as a mother. Because I've seen dudes who hate their mothers. They in 2-parent homes.
Mm.
It don't matter whether you're in a 1-parent or 2-parent. It's how that parent teaches that child. And when we talking about biracials and all that, it's the same thing. How you as a parent teaches that child about themselves and about the world is going to dictate how they view themselves in the world. If you are a lazy parent, if you ain't doing your job, then yeah, they're going to have an identity issue. Yes, they're going to try to identify with whoever is the stronger influence, whoever has power. So if that means I'm going to identify with the white side because they have the power instead of you as the parent having the power over them, or they're going to identify with the black side because you don't have no power over that child. How they treat women, how they treat men is dependent on the parents. I can go over to Kevin Samuels right now and listen to his stuff, and I still would never hate women because my mother ensured that I would never hate women. That's what my mother did. That's what she always focused on. I think black women are very beautiful. They're the most beautiful people on the planet because of my mother. I I did yeah, I thought white women were this, that, and other. But because of my mother being a beautiful black woman and respecting herself, that's why I don't take white women like that. They're beautiful, hey, whatever. And if I get with one, oh well. But my main focus is always going to be black women. And whether if that white woman get with me, my son and daughter still are going to love black women because how I am. We try to put the emphasis on how to raise these children on someone else instead of ourselves. This is what happens. And that's why these biracials are out here all crazy because the parents are not doing what they supposed to do. And if you're not doing what you're supposed to do, that's why we're having this whole debate of biracials and how they have privileges and all that. They have privileges because we as a people don't respect ourselves and we don't teach our children that love yourself, whether you darkety dark, or light is light, or whatever. And no, you don't have a privilege because of who you are. It's what you do. Until we get to that point, we're gonna have all these debates that end up in nowhere. And when it comes down to it, this ain't about power. Because my thing has always been, I don't care about your feelings. It's about power. And if you don't have no power over your children, guess what? I don't care if they mix. I don't care if they fully black, fully white, whatever. You don't have no power over your children. Your children just go anywhere. Hell, we had a white woman pretend to be black. I'm sure she had white parents. Where were they at? I mean, so it's just that's what it is, man. So, I'm sorry.
No, because
Yeah,
I've been stretching this long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have to really step out. and let's be honest, I'm no custom doing these lengthy streams. As y'all know, the longest I've done was maybe posted 4 hours, but I don't think I'm getting that today, and I don't want to. I do have things to do.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you because I try to keep my streams very short, hour at best, but some things happen. But anyway, thanks for having me up here.
Yes, thank you. Hope to see you again in the future stream. All right, brother.
All right, no problem, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Now, for me, to answer the previous question before, and let's scroll up to find it. It was here. To answer your question, Chris, the real question: should a woman who supports eugenics be allowed to talk about this? Now, as you know, Fox Soul is no stranger of having, like I said earlier, degenerates and confused black folks. Now, we all know Fox Soul did their little research and their digging of the one Miss G for some time now. And I find it very ironic they will have someone that push the notion of, X off young black babies, unfortunately, to have them on their platform. But as she went on their platform, she kind of did water down to a degree than what she would normally do on her own channel or another person's channel. And it's expected because let's be honest, people, once you're trying to cross over to another media that has a strong presence, the real true nature of a person has to wire down eventually. Because they have to wear a mask so we don't know what is underneath that mask. And that's what she has proven today. Or last week when she did that stream with the ladies on the panel. So, like I said, I don't have much respect for Fox Soul, to be personally honest, because them women on there, they're very self-identified as more for themselves individualized. Hell, Ice Cube learned the hard way when he tried to present a plan of action for Black Americans. and he was up on their little show, and they say, and they, by quote, they feel they're separate towards black men. So it is what it is. So like I said, her being on that platform is no surprise. It is very much anti-straight heterosexual male over there, and anti-black people overall. Unless they're focused on women, but that's another story. So I hope that answers your question. And I expect maybe in the future she'll probably be on other platforms that is maybe probably bigger to really engage in this fruitless conversation. But what do I know? But other than that, thank y'all for listening. If you're new to the Chaos Reign Champ, make sure you hit the red button. Make sure you hit that, what we call that top notification for uploads here on the Chaos Reign channel. Also, let me find this. Also, follow me on Twitter at Chaos Reign 7 and add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Reign on Facebook. And the Discord, you know where to find that. That's in the About section of the Chaos Reign channel. It's like always, you know where to find me. The Chaos Reign.